What's up? What's up? Hope everybody had a wonderful Easter, and we're back to Monday afternoon. Hey, Deb. So in this video here, I haven't watched it. I just kind of read the title on it, but this is Max at the Burn, and I don't know if this was the weapon systems operator that they saved, but we'll figure we'll watch it and see what's happening. What's going on, Sean? I'm interested in this type of stuff, right? Shout out to everybody in the military. Especially right now in these trying times. You have to be one hell of a person to even sign up to the military to start with. That's a devotion right there for sure. Let's listen and see what this young gentleman got to say.
So in 2006, I went back and tried my hand at INDOC, which was our selection program back then. And I ended up making it. So then I spent the rest of my time from then. So 2006 started my pipeline again, and then ended up graduating in 2008, and then off to the races. So from 2008 to 2024, spent 16 years as an operational PJ. Most of my time in AFSOC. I spent one great assignment down here in Las Vegas, down at the 58th, which is now closed. 5 combat deployments: Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa, some other places. Lots of humanitarian and contingency response stuff that we did, as well as planning and looking at future fights and stuff as I got a little bit older in my career field.
But we found out when I was on your podcast last time that you were actually the lead PJ in charge.
What's up, Ringo?
At Bagram in Afghanistan in 2011 through 2012, right?
Yeah, I was.
I think he's gonna bomb the hell out of them. I think that, but listen, you cannot negotiate with them people. Them people are not going to be bullied around. They're firm in their beliefs, and when you mess with somebody like that, you got to go all the way in. You can't go in there pussyfooting around. He should have, they were going to go over and do that, that's what they should have did to start with. But in reality, they ought to leave folks alone in different parts of the world. It's a different culture, man. Then people don't believe like we believe.
It's awesome, man. There's something about that that's cool.
What up, guy?
As a pilot myself, everything's about me, so I got to bring that up so everybody everybody
knows.
I'm a pilot. Yeah. All right, man, let's just get right into it, brother. So there's been a ton of information out there about the events of this past weekend. F-15E,
that he was hoping that the rest of these countries was going to go over there and bail them out, and they don't want the problems with these people. They know how hard it's going to be to get these people out of power over there. It's not just that easy.
Getting scooped up. Can you just give us a couple minute breakdown on what you know about the situation?
I mean, think about it, man. If I came to your house, just say I came to your house and I started giving you demands and shit, you'd be like, bitch, you crazy as fuck. Get the fuck out of here. No matter if I could whoop your ass or not, you ain't gonna let me most men wouldn't anyway. Wouldn't let you just kick the front door in and start giving demands. Same thing.
This is, we're just going to go chronologically, and we'll go ahead and put the start date right when that F-15 unfortunately got shot down. So by all reporting, it was from what I understand and what I believe to be is a manpad using some systems that we haven't seen the Iranians use them before, and they're getting good effects off of it because the enemy learns and they figure out how to use their own equipment to its best capabilities. So unfortunately, we had the forced ejection of a pilot and a Wizzo. People don't understand. One of the questions right away is like, well, shouldn't they be together? They ejected together. Brother, you're flying at 480 miles an hour going through an ejection over territory underneath a parachute and all this other stuff. So basically that's when the world stops, the music quits, and the CSAR flag goes up. And that's where these teams that were postured and ready to go just in case something happened for the entire flight area that is the southern part of Iran. We have teams that are postured and ready to go at all times. If there is a fighter jet flying, there is a pararescue team that is cocked and ready to go to get off the ground in less than 5 minutes and come start helping those folks that are now isolated. As we got that information, the pilot was picked up pretty quickly. That was a good thing. As the rescue situation developed, we had 2 A-10s that were overhead. Time I've seen A-10s were providing close air support. A really cool part of the rescue community that some of your followers might not be tracking is that they actually have a certification called Sandy. And this goes all the way back to Vietnam. These aircraft, these A-10s, would be the closest to the ground, and they'd have the most situational awareness. Now, this is before ISR, and this is before all these other aircraft with sensors.
That was badass. I don't give a fuck.
So you had this flying tank, and a pilot, and a titanium bathtub with a huge gun strapped to it. Those folks were the best to know exactly what was going on, and they've been part of the rescue architecture. So they go by the Sandy call sign, and they're usually the rescue mission commander. So as is their heritage, they flow over top and they're starting to provide those fires. And unfortunately, we had 2 unlucky jets out of that scenario. One of them was able to limp off back to friendly control and was able to land. By the way, from the information that I'm receiving, that pilot was flying by wires and doing things that we've only seen killer shit Kim Campbell do in the A-10. Just absolute. I think actually the biggest problem flying the A-10 back the way that that pilot did was probably the weight of his massive testicles just weighing that aircraft down.
I don't know how he got those into the G suit, to be honest. Like, I don't know how they actually fit in there, but
it's a real
special
problem,
G suit.
I can't tell you from personal experience, but I can tell you from other people that I know. I can tell you that that's a real thing. So that was unlucky jet number 1. So that aircraft was target. And then another one actually couldn't limp all the way back home. He had to eject. Something I want to highlight here, because we kind of sped past it because everything went so fast. Those Air Force pararescue teams picked those 2 people up within minutes of when they went down. We had them on board. This led to the next 2 aircraft that unfortunately were unlucky.
I wonder.
Those
I'd like to hear from the fucking
aircraft.
I would like to hear from the weapons system officer. You know, he was scared shitless. You can say whatever you want. You're in a foreign land, fucking outside with people actively looking for you, trying to kill you. You know, some crazy shit was running through his brain.
The Pave Hawk, so the HH-60 whiskey model, which is what these folks were on. I know the teams that were on it. I won't say which team is out there because those teams are still currently working, but they're good bros. They're experienced. They have multiple combat deployments. They took a crap ton of fire. I'm sure you saw the picture.
Small arms fire, basically.
Yeah. Small arms fire. Everybody on board took shrapnel. However, the point remains they got those people back to safety, and those men were able to get off that helicopter. And if I know those men, they were pissed. They knew the job wasn't done. They knew they didn't want to be out of the fight. They refit, they rekit, they get ready for the next go. And this is where it starts to get hairy. So as the situation develops here, we know that we've got 4 unlucky aircraft, a 5th if you're counting the F-15 to start this event. And now we're talking about losing a single American that ejects from his F-15, the WISA, Weapons Systems Officer, that is now lost, isolated, and in enemy territory in the southern part of Iran. I want to take it back. It was Good Friday. I knew this information because I have access and placement with a lot of people, and I want to make it super clear. I'm never past anything secret. I've never passed anything even sensitive. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, hey, listen, man, I'd love to talk to you about it. If you can give me an update, I'll take an update, but I'm never going to take anything that can get anybody in trouble. So I want to make that super clear.
Yep.
But we started getting word that the WISO was isolated, and then it was really on. Like from before, you had sort of, hey, we have a shooting, we have some people, one pilot gets picked up, you start to get these good feelings. And then Good Friday happens, and we start getting some bad information. What I will tell you is I was let in on a conversation. It was already breaking today, and Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump have corroborated this. I knew it a little bit early, so I just wanted to tell you that to make sure you know how cool I am. When that WISO hit the ground,
I'm a little bored right here. I'm tracking how badass you are.
How cool is Aaron, right?
Probably so.
We'll talk about jumping
Probably
or something
so.
nice, I guess. The very first word that guy said, not only was he doing exactly what he was supposed to do, as a like in the context of his actions that he is
he got a cool ass story though, you know what I mean?
Escape. Not only is he doing that exactly to the letter, which he did the entire time, and I talked about that when I went on Fox News. Everything that I was seeing was this gentleman was absolutely a savage on the ground, and I felt good about saying on Fox, this guy's going to get picked up. Now, I'm not, again, mark it down on the board. I'm not saying that I am prescient or I deserve credit for calling that. I can just tell you I've done it a couple times, and you can tell when somebody is locked in, they know exactly what they're supposed to do. And this guy did it. His very first radio call, God is good, enemy 3K to the north. And that gentleman moved out. He was able to, over the next course of days, hide himself, adhere to the plans that we have that are set in. Again, these things are pretty well protected, so I'm not going to talk about what tactics, techniques, and procedures he did, but he was able to keep himself safe, which is the most important thing. He was also able to communicate the way that we recover somebody in PR, in the Air Force. You report, you locate, you support, you recover, and you reintegrate. Now, PJs and combat rescue officers, they play a big role in that recover and that reintegrate. That's an entire process. Like the recovery, obviously, we're going. The reintegration is handled by the combat rescue officers, 3 phases. It's very in depth. There's a whole process to that. That's pretty close hold information too as to what goes on, but there's a process. I'll say from report to locate to support, the architecture and the air rescue system absolutely destroyed this mission in the best possible way. Absolutely crushed it. From a report, they knew exactly where he was, and I'm speaking in retrospect. I can tell you that they had a really good idea of where this gentleman was on the ground, where his safety was, where he was moving, having not quite real-time information, because in the fog of war and with his movements, you can't really track him real time. It doesn't work like that. But we had a pretty good idea of where he was. So that's report. That's locate. As far as support, when a PR event like this happens, the world stops. Every single aircraft in the area is absolutely chomping at the bit to get over top. I was trying to explain this to somebody, but combat controllers will tell you the worst part about being in a PR environment is having to deconflict the airspace above them. Because everybody wants to get in. You hear that call on a radio for a downed airman, all bets are off.
And just PR is personnel recovery, right?
Personnel recovery, right. So personnel recovery, it's a subset. Personnel recovery is a subset of direct action, which is part of the 9 soft core tenets. Everybody is supposed to be able to do personnel recovery. The Air Force just happens to have the gold standard force that train for it 24/7, and we're the people that you call when things are super bad. So as the situation develops, the guys, the teams, they're going through their mission planning. They're getting ready to go. They want to go in the period of darkness, the vol of Saturday night here in America. So it was, breaking Sunday morning over in Tehran. So Easter morning, or the day prior, excuse me. They're getting ready to go. Illumination wasn't great. It was like 93 to 98%, not a lot of cloud cover. And they knew that this was going to be a race against time. So when these things happen, the enemy is racing to get to this pilot. Like, I don't have to remind you that, the Jordanian pilot and that terrible thing that happened in 2013, 2014 on Al Jazeera. I don't have to remind you of the propaganda. We don't need to speak hyperbolically. What I'll say is that the stakes could not be higher. As they planned for this mission, they started to figure out how it is that they were going to get to him. There's a ton of different calculus and a ton of different calculations that go into these sort of things. It's held at a very high level. I can tell you from anecdotal, maybe first 0.5 hand, second hand information. There was a discussion in a high level group chat about, hey, I think we're going to hold for trigger. I think we're going to wait. And I will guess, let's call it a hypothetical, allegedly, that maybe somebody with the handle of SecWar came in and said, absolutely not, this is a go.
Yeah.
And kicked everybody off.
Yep.
But those are the stakes here. Yeah, there are people here that everybody cares. Trump called a lid. President Trump called a lid to what he was doing at the White House. That guy almost never calls lids. That guy almost never stops having press conferences. He almost never stops going on Truth Social. And for that day, for that 24-hour period, he didn't talk to anybody. He sat in his room with his security council, and he managed this thing laser focused, literally the world's eyes.
And everybody said Trump was in the hospital. It wasn't that. They was going in to get that motherfucker, and he didn't want to be the one to tip them off of where they were going, what they were doing.
We're on this Wizzo that was evading.
Because some of them stupid ass reporters try to ask them off the wall.
This man walked up, it's like a 7K piece of terrain, was able to hide himself at the top, like great defensible position. People couldn't find him. He wasn't being tracked. He was able to activate an emergency beacon, which he had on him from the seat kit. That let rescue forces know exactly where he was. And then from then it was game on. When we go back in that architecture, we're talking about support now. There was a box that was drawn around this survivor, and I can't tell you how big the box was, but I could tell you if you went inside that box, you got murdered.
Yeah.
Then it was biblical levels of violence. Like, if you want to see the United States Air Force, like fangs bared, I am not playing around, like you've hit the FAFO. Anybody that entered that box were in the FO portion of that equation, because they were absolutely getting it. And you can go out and see the Apache videos and all that stuff.
Yeah, we've heard there were Apaches, MQ-9s targeting even, I think, besieged forces that were 3 kilometers away but could have been getting close. So yeah, gloves are off. There's no taking a chance of anything that the Air Force can do to keep this pilot from getting captured, right?
And they were even doing some things that you wouldn't even think of, right? So some of those MQ-9s were actually blowing up pieces of road, MSRs, right? Like routes of people would approach on, right? They were actually destroying parts of these roads so that they were unpassable, so that if anybody tried to like have a high speed like surface route to get to these folks or get to the area, they were like, no, man, we're going to slow you down. They were literally throwing everything in the playbook at it. And to their credit, they were able to hold all these folks off. The videos are amazing. We're going to get the radio calls. Like, those are going to drop. Well, and it was a full suite of capabilities, man. Space Force, 100% involved. the intelligence agencies were actually feeding false intelligence, making it look like we were taking them out over ground in an opposite direction. And that had a little Kansas City shuffle, little you look right, we go left sort of deal right there. And we were able to get a little bit of time and a little bit of distance out of that. So it was literally everything that America could bring to bear to support this downed airman. We were all for it. The task force gets the word, they get to go. Now we're gonna Tarantino it a little bit. I'm gonna take you back 46 years before this event. There was a little operation called Operation Eagle Claw. This was in the south of Iran.
Yeah.
There were American
What's up,
hostages. We
Trixie?
decided that we were going to land some C-130s on the ground in Iran. We were going to fuel them up, and then we were going to have a helicopter assault force push further in, and we were going to rescue these hostages, and we were going to come home the victors. That was actually the thing that failure of Operation Eagle Claw, because that was the biggest failure probably in American military history, at least recent history, 1950s on. That actually led to the creation of JSOC, a Joint Special Operations Command that could train for these periods. This is where we got the soft truths. Soft Special Operations Forces cannot be mass produced. They can't be made after an event has already happened. They have to have training. They have to have funding. All of these things came out of Operation Eagle Claw. So 46 years later, JSOC, a combined force, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, everybody gets on board, and they're going to do the exact same thing. They're going to fly to an airstrip that they saw from imagery that they thought they could land these C-130s on. By the way, it was only 2.5 miles away from a city center that had almost 2.5 million people in it, which is sort of crazy.
Wow.
The audacity, the men who dare. They decide that they're going to land these bad boys with the assault force on board these two MC-130s. Those are special operations AC-130 or special operations C-130s. So they're called MC-130s, Mike Charlie 130s. They've got two little birds, and people were shocked. They were like, "You can't take a little bird on a helicopter on a C-130 and then take it out and just have it ready to go." Au contraire, not so fast, said the 123rd STS.
They're like,
2020, right. Oh, yeah, watch this. The 123rd STS did this exact thing. I posted it on my Instagram today talking about the 123rd, no kidding, on an unimproved runway, landed a C-130, rolled a little bird right off the back of that bad boy. The professionals over at the 160th had that boy up and humming and ready to go. That's exactly the tactic that they used here. It's nothing new. Pararescue and the JSOC units have been working to perfect these sort of tactics, techniques, and procedures, and it was out in the world in 2023. So kudos to the 123rd STS for showcasing the Air Force's ability to work in these joint environments at the highest levels. Now, this is where it starts to get sporty, ladies and gents. You have the entire C-130 package. So you got two MC-130s. They land on this unimproved runway. And the worst news that could have happened. Both C-130s plugged. They were hard broke. There was no way to move them. They couldn't take off. They were there. Those C-130s were going to be exactly there for the rest of the time that they were on this earth, because they
knew it. They knew it as they landed. The wheels sunk in or something went wrong that they knew they weren't going to move.
I believe right away. They knew it.
Yeah.
And so the 160th, the mission continues. They get those little birds out. They get them up and flying. Amazing work by these little bird pilots. Find, locate, found the WIZA mountaintop pickup. Absolute firefight of biblical levels on the way in. As soon as those 130s landed, the IRGC knew that the gig was up, and they knew at least what area that was in, and everyone flooded this area. From the reports and the stories that I'm hearing from this is going to
What's
be...
up, Pimp? Grizz, what's happening?
Legendary gets used too much. We are going to talk about this rescue mission as the crown jewel of America's military rescue forces for the next 20 years. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah, just like us, they're throwing everything to bear. They're doing everything within their power, whether that's drones, whether their own ISR capabilities. They do have drones that do have, lower resolution cameras and pods.
It just makes me proud right here.
You can buy a DJI drone with a pretty good camera off of it right off the rack at Walmart, here in Vegas. I could go get you one pretty much right now. So they're doing everything that they can to find them as well. Now, obviously, when you start getting reports, and I say great, I think that's probably a dark humor way to say great. So there was a great video that I saw of an IGRC guy.
Veterans with dark humor.
I don't watch that idiot.
Yeah. Well, these gentlemen entered the FAFO equation at the wrong time, and basically these Iranian soldiers that thought that they were running up on a village where the American was being held, they found 18 of their dead friends because the assault force absolutely rolled through them on the way to get to that mountaintop. So kudos to
Wow.
the assault force for being deadly
Yeah.
and being quick. But as everybody's looking for them at once, and sometimes it's just you can hear the planes, you can hear the helicopters. Sometimes it's as low vis as just like, or low tech as, hey, over there. He's got to be
Yeah.
on top
They
of that
see him
mountain.
coming in. Okay.
Right. Yeah, and again, they're not stupid. Our enemy is not stupid. Don't ever underestimate your adversary. If you think they can't
Yeah.
look at a piece of key terrain and go, you know what, if I was a survivor, I'd go up there. Nobody's been up there. You're wrong.
Sure.
They know
That's
that
why the
game.
stakes are so high, right?
Right.
It's such a game of timing. It's like in football, it's a game of inches. This is a game of a couple minutes could change everything.
The race was on, but those Little Bird pilots, kudos to them. They were able to get the Wizzo. This is where the news reporting started to get super weird too, right? Now,
Yeah.
here's where it starts to get wonky is as this is happening on top of the mountain, they're figuring out that the 130 is fouled. Those crew members are now in southern Iranian territory with no way to protect themselves other than what they have for their personal weapons and what's overhead. They've got 2 huge aircraft, and those 4 Little Birds, they don't have the legs to fly out of the place that they were in Iran.
Right.
So worst possible scenario, you've got 2 aircraft that you can't fly. The 4 that you can fly, can't fly to get out. So now what are we talking about? Flying a 4 ship to have another PR event like 200 miles closer? I think the
Right.
unclassed range of a Little Bird is like 250 miles or something, 225 to 250. Can't refuel. That's a problem. So now
Yep.
they started working this calculus on the ground, and that's where you started seeing the reporting like, is the Wizzo out? Do we have him? Is he in? Is he not? He was out right away. The
Mhm.
fastest that we could possibly get
I
him
don't
out.
know
The
who the
lagging
guy
of
is
truth
on the
data
left,
was when
but
there was
the
still
guy on the right
ongoing
is Matt
operations. They were like, well, no,
Blackburn.
the operation is still going on. 2 things can be true at the same time.
Sure.
Wizzo,
Yeah.
gone, ongoing operation because now you have X amount of Americans of assault force,
He's just
crew
a
members of those
paratrooper, rescue
MC-130s,
mission guy.
crew members that were on those Little Birds, all of the load dogs, like the FARP dogs that came out from the 160th to set that FARP up and set the helicopters up. You got all those people to worry about now.
Sure.
So people started making some very hard choices on the ground. Shout out to the Dash 8 community. There's a short takeoff and landing aircraft that we use in special operations. You can take off on unimproved dirt. I mean, I'm talking the worst. You find a field, these boys can land. They need very, very few thousands of feet to get up there. I won't tell you what the unclass is there, but
Yeah.
they can literally take off and land in your backyard if you need them to. These 3 pilots flew in, sometimes at 50 feet, terrain masking, screaming over the ground of Iran to show up to that FARP. They threw everybody that they could at boy, and they got them out.
And that's the
everybody was.
C295 whiskey. Is that what we're seeing all the videos come out of that thing?
It is, yeah. Commonly referred to as the Dash 8. The Dash 8
Wow.
aircraft. Those bad boys just loaded it up like it's the classic question about an H-860. How many people can you fit on there? I don't know, probably one more. It was the
Yeah.
same thing. It ain't going to be
Probably
comfortable,
one
folks,
more.
but this is the Freedom
That's what's
Bird, so
up,
let's go
man.
ahead and find a spot. Find a
Well,
spot in the
it's a
world.
make it happen, be an athlete situation all around, right?
I mean, the basic team member on a pararescue team is responsible for 2 critical patients out of 1 med ruck, and he's making decisions about life or death with those 2 patients, and that's the lowest team member with the lowest amount of training we have. Imagine what those mission commanders are thinking.
gonna tell
Imagine
y'all
what those
right now,
pilots on
though,
the H-860s, on the AC,
around
HC-130.
midnight tonight, if you watch the live streams out of Israel and Tel Aviv, just watch. It's going to be fireworks tonight, I'm sure.
And MC-130s that support these operations. Imagine the calculus and the mission planning that they have to go through to have the level of contingency planning in their head for, oh crap, this happened. Okay, plan B, plan C. These boys were on plan X by the
Sure.
time that this mission started to wrap up.
Well said, man. Tell people one more time how they can find you.
Man, hit me up over at One's Ready. That's the main platform of the podcast. If you want to follow me for more of my spicy takes and some of the other stuff I'm doing, if you'd like to engage in political stuff, go ahead and follow me over at Aaron_loves_America. You can just look for my name because we'll end on a narcissistic note. I'm pretty much the only Aaron Love PJ that's out there. You can just Google me. I'm pretty easy to find.
Aaron, thanks, man. Really appreciate it. Everybody, Aaron Love, former PJ, go check out the podcast. I'm going to link to all his stuff in the description. Thanks for watching, everybody. Really appreciate having you here.
So hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Aaron.
Well, yeah, we did. Let me see here. We can get to the description. Shit. I'll let this finish playing.
Quickly, I want to talk about the 4D chess strategic analysis of this whole operation that went down. This rescue, this F-15E rescue with Delta Force, Pararescue, Navy SEALs, combat controllers, the fact that they were able to do this shows that U.S. forces can operate deep inside of Iranian territory, across the most rugged parts of Iran, hundreds of miles from friendly bases, and still bring everyone home. Obviously, Iran is still holding the world hostage with the Straits of Hormuz, but this is a big sign of power. And really the biggest thing I think it does is it sends a message to all the U.S. service members that no matter what, there is no chance that someone won't come and try to get you out of hostile territory if the worst should happen and you're stuck inside of Iran like the F-15E Wizzo was. And then what do you guys think? So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Put them in the comments below. Do you think Iran will be able to target more U.S. fighters? What tactics do you think they're using? I love hearing what you guys think. So,
all right, we'll subscribe to this dude because that's the guy that was just talking. Let's see what he's got on there 3 weeks ago. See if he's put anything out. Oh, he ain't put shit out.
One's ready. Go!
Team!
Ready!
Oh, that counts me out. I ain't doing no fucking push-ups.
I'm too locked in. I've been on a run like God. These critics wanna hate. I'm a certified problem. Blood, sweat, tears. That's 24 hours.
Let's get to the bullshit. Ain't it funny how like the whole world,
not like being active duty?
ain't it funny like the whole world has just accepted rap music? 10 years ago, it wasn't like that. Now everywhere you go, everybody's opening up with a fucking rap song. What the fuck
But
is going
then
on?
they roll around in the glory of being an M-Day Guards guy. You know, hang with the boys 3 days a month, go on some climbing trips, deploy once every 5 years, but have like a 6-figure executive job somewhere in a white-collar world where his wife's not mad that they're living on ramen noodles.
Tons of people ask us about guard stuff. A lot of people ask us. We have a whole bunch of folks that hit us up about Army and everywhere. We want to help everybody. That's obviously why you're on that. And you're just a cool dude with a good mustache. So the main question I want to start
More
with.
proof that it's not the real Army, right?
Right. Why the Army? So 11 years of active duty, 21 years in the Guard. Take us back 32 years from now. What was the decision to get into the Army and why Special Forces?
So I was working in the oil field, and I was drunk in my apartment at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and a show called Inside the Green Berets came on. And I was like, that job looks rad. Like they're doing what I do, minus like, in my head, it wasn't like 20-hour days working with a bunch of Hispanics on an oil rig. But in reality, it's like a one for one trade. Yeah. 1 for 1 trade, just a different partner force, right? Like it's 18-hour days with a bunch of dudes that don't speak English. It's the same job. You just have more guns. And so I started poking around and I got on. You guys are younger than I am, but are you familiar with professionalsoldiers.net?
Yes.
Yeah.
PS.
Or SOCNet?
We're gonna have to fight now. I'm a shadow spear. Gang. What's up?
Yeah, gang, for sure. Yeah, they were
Gang.
there were competing message boards for dudes that were hopefuls in the soft community. And I went on those websites and got bullied by a bunch of old 90s SF dudes who were really mad at me for existing and asking questions about becoming a Green Beret. And a couple of them in the private messages slid in and were like, hey, dude, you have a good job. You have a college degree. If this is something you want to do, you should consider the Guard. So I literally started calling recruiters. Met a dude named Sev Summers, who ended up being my first senior on my first ODA in the Guard, who was
This ain't what I thought
backfilling
it
a
was.
recruiter position in Jackson, Mississippi. Like,
I don't care about all that shit. I was hoping dude was gonna put out some more fucking information on that shit. Let's go check out old Hooks. See what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah, we have high food and energy prices, and most hardworking Americans can't afford housing and medical treatments. Sure, our entire
Let me go to my
system is
damn-
run by a bunch of perverted billionaire pedos, and our current
Yeah,
government
sure
is
is,
just
ain't it, man? It's fucking sad too. Let me see if that. I was hoping I was gonna find that David dude. Pim, what's the name of that channel again, man? 479. It's fucking going up, ain't it? It's David Hook something, ain't it? There it is, David Hookstead. Appreciate you, brother.
Watch every March Madness game.
That's how I've been following this shit, keeping
All
up
in
with
one
what's
place.
going on.
Catch every buzzer beater and Cinderella.
Welcome in, everyone. I hope you guys are doing great.
You can't listen to the fucking news. They're not going to tell you the truth about shit anyway, you know?
Wherever you're watching from today, I'm filming this on April 6th, and we have major news as it has been revealed B-2 stealth bombers obliterated a secret Iranian bunker at the same time that the rescue operation for our missing F-15 weapons officer was conducted. So we had massive strikes at the exact same time the search and rescue operation.
Trixie, Bulldog, I don't blame y'all. Unk ain't went nowhere in about a fucking week. I've been right here at the house. I ain't going nowhere.
The weapons officer, as
Unless
well
it's
as
out to make
Iran
$1
has
and come back.
rejected the latest ceasefire proposal, and we have a lot of comments from Trump and more combat explosion footage. So we got a lot to get into. Before we get into it, as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. Totally free. Cost you guys nothing at all. Huge boost to the channel. Get active in the comments. What do you think about us blowing up a secret bunker? How do you think the war is going? Let me know in the comments below. Hit the notification bell. All notifications turned on. You won't miss a thing. And then Instagram, David_Hookstead, XD Hookstead. That's where you can find me on social media. My DMs are wide open. Please reach out with whatever you got. Now, let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to start with right off the jump here is Iran is rejecting the ceasefire proposal from mediators, according to state-run IRNA news agency.
Yeah,
Multiple
shit's going
news
to be off
outlets
the hook
are
tonight.
reporting the same. So we, the United States, are trying to reach some kind of ceasefire deal, reopen the Strait of Hormuz as we work through this problem. Iran is rejecting all attempts at diplomacy. Some reports even indicate Iran is not even responding to U.S. proposals. So Iran is dug in. They want this war to continue. They want to keep the Strait of Hormuz strangled and closed in an attempt to, I guess, destroy the world's economy or destroy a large portion of the world's economy.
Somebody was saying that we had about 2 weeks worth of oil left in our reserves, and then it was going to be a fucking bad day. If they don't get this shit open, we got about 2 weeks left. Now, I don't know how true that is, but how in the fuck can we produce so much oil and then we're in that kind of trouble? I don't understand that.
Filming has failed, and that means the war is going to continue. Now, that leads me to this point. Speaking of the war continuing, this is a report from Trey Yanks, Fox News. Trey Yanks, one of the best reporters, war reporters out there that you can find, saying while the airman rescue is going on, CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper directed a strike on IRG headquarters in an underground facility near Tehran. It was done with B-2
I guarantee
bombers
you,
using
I'll tell you this, though. A lot of those small timers that were fracking back a few years back, I bet they're back opened up again. That alone will keep us going. just the
the
oil
same
fields we
weapon
have here. We
used
just won't
in
have it
Midnight
for sale
Hammer.
on the
Let's
market.
watch a short clip of his comment.
They're
US
talking about
sources telling
doing
Fox
something
News
about it right
that
now.
while that rescue was ongoing over the weekend, that CENTCOM commander Admiral Brad Cooper directed a strike against an IRGC underground headquarters outside of the Iranian capital of Tehran. Fox News has learned that B-2 bombers were used during this strike, along with massive ordnance penetrators, bunker buster bombs, to target this facility, the same weapons used in Operation Midnight Hammer.
So that is Trey Yingst reporting
I'm
that we
afraid.
use
I'm afraid
the
they're gonna have
MOPS,
to
the
go over and level
30,000
Iran.
pound GBU 57s is what I'm guessing were the MOPS that were used, dropped by B-2 stealth bombers to obliterate this secret underground bunker for IRGC leadership. We can hit them wherever we want. Let's speak about it clearly. I'm not trying to be left, right, whatever. As an American, I'm telling you, we have tools and capabilities that the Iranians have no defense for. That includes the 30,000 pound GBU 57, which we dropped on in Operation Midnight Hammer on Fordo and Natanz, 12 hit Fordo, 2 hit Natanz. It is a brutal, devastating bunker buster weapon. Now,
Yeah, and that's what they're going to have to do.
More strikes
I hate it,
are underway,
but
this reportedly is the bombing of gas fields, the South Car gas fields. You'd see right there more smoke in the air as Israeli and U.S. That doesn't look like the gas fields. That looks like an urban target. And right there, you can see more smoke in the air as the bombings continue. Now, next up, we had the petrochemical facility in Bashur. We talked about this in the first video today. Took heavy bombing. More footage of that is now out. This is new footage. You can see just an incredible amount of smoke in the air after the petrochemical plant was
to me,
hit
Trump been
by
pussyfooting around too
bombs.
much. They
Now,
should have
at
unleashed
this
hell
hour,
on
at
to
this
start with.
moment, anti-aircraft fire is up and heavy, and we're going to get into Trump's comments as well as our helicopter footage of our helicopters being shot at here shortly, so stick around for that. But at this moment, we are learning that anti-aircraft fire is underway over Tehran with American and almost certainly as well Israeli planes in the sky. This is some insane footage. Footage has been released of the Iranians opening up with heavy weapons, heavy guns on our helicopters as we were searching for the downed F-15 weapons officer. Let's watch. Helicopter in the distance, heavy anti-aircraft guns. So that is the Iranians attempting to shoot down one of our helicopters. Obviously, they did not succeed, but we do know guys were hit. The helicopters were hit, and we had to blow up some after the C-130 situation. Now, President Trump talking about Iran. Let's watch.
Obliterating that country. And I hate to do it, but we're
What's up,
obliterating it. They just don't want to say uncle. They don't want to cry as the expression goes uncle, but they will. And if they don't, they'll have no bridges, they'll have no power plants, they'll have no anything. I won't go further because there are other things that are worse than those two. And we might have, well, the thing, if I had my choice, what would I like to do? Take the oil. Because it's there for the taking. There's not a thing they can do about it. Unfortunately, the American people would like to see us come home. If it were up to me, I'd take the oil, I'd keep the oil, and would make plenty of money.
So President Trump right there making it clear that if a deal is not reached with the Iranians.
And I think that's his problem. The way that he presents that shit, like it's wrong for, you know what I mean? The American people ain't going to accept that the way he's talking. He shouldn't be out here fucking even talking about the shit. Just go do it.
Free intent of escalating this situation with the attacks on the power plants, oil energy infrastructure. So this situation could get very dicey very fast. And President Trump also confirming that the helicopters on the rescue mission for the F-15 weapons officer were hit. Let's watch.
And, we have some helicopters with a lot of bullet holes in them right now. Probably you know that. I'm very honored by.
So President Trump right there confirming that the helicopters were hit. And then right here, he is asked if Tuesday is the final deadline before we take this thing to the next level. Let's
gone. Yeah, I did too, bro.
So if you couldn't hear him there, he says, yes, it is the final deadline.
The
He says,
problem
yep.
is a
So
lot of
Tuesday
people in
night,
America
things
is
might get
soft,
real
man.
interesting by
What's
Tuesday
up?
night. Now, at the
Hey,
same
Dave, what's
time,
happening, bro? A lot of
Israel
people are
continues
soft
to be
over here,
hit. This
man,
is
and
I
they
think, a
can't take
cluster
the way you
munition
talk.
hitting Israel earlier today.
He's not very correct. Look at all them
Right
fucking
there.
mini
Blows
split
the car
units.
apart. Appears to hit the side of the building. Let's watch it again.
Damn.
So right there. Significant.
That's one way to
hit,
get the motor out of there.
direct strike. And then right here, we have missile launch from Esfahan, ballistic missiles in the air, heading up towards targets across the Middle
Hell
East.
yeah, damn.
And then
that's
right
fuck.
here, footage released from the IDF of Hezbollah targets. You can see impact right there. And then right there, impact on target. And then lastly, the U.S. military releasing footage of more fighter jets taking
I'm
off.
surprised they're not flying them
strike
fucking
targets
crack drones
in
over there
Iran.
and just wiping them the fuck out.
Pretty cool video. I'm going to get that off the screen right now. Give me a second. All right. So as of me filming this update, we now know negotiations have collapsed. President Trump more or less making that clear. We now know a secret bunker has been wiped out by B-2 stealth bombers using the 30,000-pound GBU-57 bombs. That is a significant strike. We got a lot to monitor. We got a lot to pay attention to. I will continue to watch and monitor the situation. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all again when we have more updates.
When was this one? 7 hours ago.
Welcome in, everyone. I hope you guys are doing great wherever you're watching from today. I am filming this on the morning of April 6th. All information up to date as of April 6th. And we have major news overnight into the early morning hours, local time in Iran. U.S. bombers absolutely tearing regime targets apart. This comes as ceasefire negotiations and peace negotiations have failed, and now we are up the escalation ladder. And at the same time, Israel also hit with more ballistic missiles. So we got a lot of crazy footage to get into. Before we get into it, as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. Totally free, cost you guys nothing at all. Huge boost to the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think of the bombing footage? How do you think the war is going? Let me know in the comments below. Hit the notification bell. All notifications turned on. You won't miss a thing. And then Instagram, David_Hookstead, XD Hookstead. That's where you can find me online. My DMs are wide open. Reach out with whatever you got. Now, let's get into it. So I'm going to put this on the screen right away. This is footage out of Bushehr, Iran. That is unbelievable.
You bet your ass I'm going to be watching tonight.
You can hear
I'm
fighter
going to be
jets
watching
in
them
the air.
live feed cameras. I guarantee this shit.
Bombers in the air. And here we go.
Ooh, shit.
Massive.
Yeah, get down, motherfucker. Duck, bitch.
Massive explosion.
حرف پیروزیشون مفته جلوشون فقط به ضعیفا میرسه حیف این همه پول که به جایی که صرف رفاه مردم بکنن اینجوری برباد.
Listen to the amount of air power that is flying, and let's watch the explosion right now.
وای وای چجوری میزنن واو.
Absolutely
Sound like most
unbelievable footage
wow.
as the U.S. Air Force lights up Iran. This is in Tehran overnight. You can see the aftermath of a huge strike, smoke
It
in
is
the air,
insane.
fire on the ground. And then right here, we have at the airport in Tehran, the Mehrabad International Airport, heavy black smoke. Following
Yeah, problem
a
is the lights is still on over in that
unbelievable
motherfucker.
strike package rolling in and hitting the target. This is also from the airport. I mean, their smoke is so thick you can barely see anything. Right
They
there,
need to
more
hit every
footage.
fucking electrical plant and every fucking
see the
solar
smoke
field,
rising up.
anything they got to do with electricity.
And then
needs
right
to
here
go.
from the distance, you can see the smoke after the
Yeah.
airport.
Yeah, that's exactly
was
what they
hit.
need. If he would have did that to start with, if he would have cut the fucking power off over there, it would have thrown him in the tail. Start attacking all their solar plants, all their water facilities, all that shit.
This is more footage.
That's how you win a fucking war.
Of the aftermath of the U.S. bombing run. You can see the impact right
Oil
there.
fields,
Another
everything. Just
impact,
fucking
huge
destroy
explosions.
everything. The port,
Let's watch that again.
wipe it all out.
So right there, and then right as it comes in, you can see it bottom of your
When
screen.
people are riding around, when they're
Huge
fucking riding around bumper to bumper, you ain't affected shit over there. I hate to say it. They're still running their daily lives like there ain't nothing going on. You want to make a motherfucker scared to go outside. That's what you do. Put them bitches on house
underway
arrest.
overnight. And then this is in Tabriz, Iran. This is a major industrial hub in
Take your
northwest
fucking
Iran. It's being
TV
struck
network
in
systems
its
away,
industrial areas,
everything.
including facilities
Shut it
tied
all
to
down.
petrochemical and heavy industry. Right there, you can see the aftermath again. Heavy dark, black smoke rising in the air
That'd be carpet bombing this whole fucking
as
place.
the situation continues to unfold. And
It
this
looked like
is
rush
the
hour
armored
if I was in
division. I'm going to
charge.
speed this one up a little bit. This is an attack on the 92nd Armored Division. Let's watch. Huge explosions.
Ya Allah. He ain't coming to get you.
You see smoke coming up.
Yeah, oh yeah. But see,
Fire
here's the problem,
on the
Cornbread.
horizon.
They're making people aware of it. Just fucking do it. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem.
After the 92nd Armored Division.
Oh, they done
of the
moved all their
Iranian
high ranking
military.
people. They're in hiding somewhere in a fucking cave somewhere in the mountains, man.
Intense bombing runs. And this is more footage, or sorry, photos of the attack. Again, you can see heavy, dark black smoke, fire. That is a great look at it. Look at
Yeah, see, the problem with
how
that
much
picture is
smoke
all the
there
fucking
is.
lights is on.
Heavy, dark smoke in the air. And this is Azadi Square following the U.S. bombers rolling through.
9/11.
Again, just an overwhelming
Bro, I believe
amount
it.
of
I fucking believe it.
destruction from U.S. bombers.
First time I ever heard that, I kind of looked
And
at
then
the
right-
person and said that kind of side-eyed. But the more this time goes on and the more that I'm aware of what the hell's actually going on, the more I believe it.
Right here, CENTCOM releasing more information, more video, saying Iranian military
No, I know it,
capabilities
Shaky. That's what I
continue to
say.
decline
You're
as
gonna
US
wipe them the
forces
fuck out.
relentlessly
Just
strike
go ahead and
military
just do it.
targets inside Iran. So you can see what looks like a radar station there. Smoked it. Good shot. Good hit on target. So CENTCOM continues to, well, that one was hidden in like some trees, it looks like. So CENTCOM continues to degrade and destroy any and all Iranian military capabilities. And that now includes another senior leader that has been killed. It says Israel killed Iran's head
I would like
of
for
IRGC.
I would like for
intelligence
Iran
brigade.
to hit fucking Epstein's place over there in Israel. That'd be all right. I'd be okay with that.
General Majid Kamadimi, I believe that's pronounced, in an overnight targeted strike. Strikes also killed Yazdin Mir, leader of the Quds Force Unit 840, a covert operational group responsible for conducting clandestine activities outside of Iran. So every time we've done a video update, another senior leader has died. And now we have yet again another one, this one being an IRGC intelligence head. The IRGC, of course, is the militant group that is extremely loyal to the regime. They have lost several leaders as this has played out, and that now includes one more. Yet they continue to fire on Israel. Some stunning footage from overnight. Iranian ballistic missiles coming in.
Matter of fact, we'll
Fired
check the
towards
live camera
Israel,
feed. It's probably starting
re-entering,
to get dark over
coming
there right
down
now.
to hit targets in Israel.
I get it too,
So
Chad.
the
I understand
Iranians,
that.
as I've said many times before, retain some launch capabilities. This is more video footage of Iranian missiles coming in. So they continue to fire. And then right here, a drone strike carried out in Iraq. So you can see the huge explosion right there. It is almost surreal, some of the footage we're looking at. And then here you have aftermath of cluster munitions in Israel. You can see the damage on the street, light damage, not serious damage there, but a little bit of light damage. And then right here, rescue services underway after more cluster munitions hit in Israel. You can see the building here has been hit, windows blown out.
I hope not, Tex.
And then right here,
I hope
this is several impacts from Iranian cluster munitions. You can see smoke on the horizon. I'll pause it right there. You can see smoke coming up. So Iran is getting missiles through. And this is today. This is on April 6th. Those are Iranian ballistic missiles in the sky. Coming down. And then right here, the UAE also under attack. I'll pause it right there. You can see smoke in the air after the UAE was bombed, and the situation continues to be incredibly intense. More footage out of Israel as they search for 4 people. It is believed multiple people are dead in the latest wave of Iranian ballistic missile attacks. And then right here, the UAE announcing that 2 cruise missiles, 12 ballistic missiles, and 19 one-way attack drones were fired over the past 24 hours as the war continues to rage. And I did want to just put this up on the screen. Iran released a photo of a teriyaki beef stick that was in the MRE, or the survival kit, of the downed American F-15 weapons officer. Your survival kit has weapons, food, water purification capabilities, a wide range of things. And the Iranians, I guess, in an attempt to try to dunk on America, maybe, release a photo of the beef jerky the pilot had on him. You know you're losing big time when this is the best you got. We flood in special operations. We flood in aircraft. We
better
bring our
eat that
guy home,
motherfucker. It's the
and
last
best
meal they
they
gonna
got
get
is
for a
to
while.
release a photo of beef jerky. So at this hour, the United States bombing campaign is continuing. We are continuing to strike targets. We are continuing to hit hard wherever we need to hit. We are keeping our foot on the gas, as all signs indicate peace negotiations have absolutely collapsed. At the same time, Iran still retains its firing ability and is unleashing missiles, and we continue to target more senior leaders. So it is a very fluid, dynamic, dangerous situation. I will continue to monitor the situation. As always, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please make sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Thank you for watching. I'll see you all again when we have more
I got
updates.
his ass. All right, let me pause this here. What's up, Tex? So we got Trump holding a press conference. We're gonna play that too.
When it comes to starting your business, not all services are created equal. That's where Busy stands out. We're more than just a platform. We're your partner.
into the daylight, the force fought its way in and rescued Dude 44 Bravo. They were protected overhead by an air armada, including tactical drones, strike aircraft, and others. The force fought through multiple simultaneous contingencies, something no other nation, no other military can do, and safely returned Dude 44 Bravo, the backseater, home, and all other Americans home as well. At midnight 12 local Eastern time, Easter Sunday, more than 50 hours after the start of this operation, the Joint Personnel Recovery Center declared Dude 44 Bravo, both the front and backseater, returned to friendly territory. The courage demonstrated by both the pilot and the weapons system officer while isolated and them invading the enemy cannot be overrated. Their grit and warfighting tenacity is a direct result of the absolute trust they have in our rescue forces, their training, and their will to survive and return. They always knew that we would be ordered to go get them, and they always knew that we would be coming to get them. These two operations reflect our nation's most sacred obligation to our military service members. We leave no one behind, bless you. It also perfectly captures the first truth of our special operations forces, that people are more important than hardware. That is the standard we live by, and the rescue forces that execute these missions operate under a clear motto: these things we do that others may live. Their actions were a direct embodiment of that commitment to others, and I could not be more proud of each and every one of them today. As the Secretary said to our enemies, this operation serves as a clear reminder of the capability and will of America's joint force. The United States of America will recover our warfighters anywhere in the world, under any conditions, when we want to. We will always bring overwhelming skill and firepower. To every member of the joint force, our interagency partners, the leadership at CENTCOM, and our leaders at the department and above, thank you. I'm proud of each and every one of you and thankful to our deployed forces and their families. And lastly, and most importantly, to Dude 44, welcome home. Job well done. Thank you.
Hell yeah, that's what's up.
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And these two gentlemen have been, from day one, they've been perfecto. I got to General Kane in my first term because he was able to take out ISIS in 4 weeks instead of the 4-year projection that was given to me by other much lesser generals. I said, if I ever do this again, that's going to be the head of my Joint Chiefs of Staff. And we worked it that way, didn't we? It's amazing. He took out ISIS. We defeated ISIS in 4 weeks.
I know a lot of people say that, little Israel, but trust me, these guys that's going over fighting, that's what they live to do. They enjoy this shit.
It won't. It'll take 4 weeks and you'll have time left over. And that's exactly what happened. So he's great. And Pete, all I can say is that he was treated very unfairly. And now those same people that treated him unfairly, that fought against him, they called me up saying, what a great choice he was. They said, well, what happened during his nomination? What happened to you? I'm telling you, people that were not for him, senators, friends of mine, sir, I don't think you're doing the right thing. Now they're calling me up. What a choice. These two guys are fantastic. And John Ratcliffe was incredible. It was actually their genius that called us from, he was 40 miles away. And he said, we're seeing something moving up in the mountain. This is at night.
That's for sure. I know it, man. A lot of people feel that way, though, but
probably wrong. But we're seeing something moving. This is a vast mountain, vast, thick, with bushes, trees. He said, we see something moving 40 miles away. It was the head of a human being. I'm telling you, it's moving. And then all of a sudden, 45 minutes later, he moved a lot, stood up, and they said, we have him. And that was really the beginning of something incredible. We had an idea where he was, but not specifically. And it's a big mountain. So I want to thank the CIA too. I don't think they get enough credit for the great job they've done. Yes, please.
Yeah, Copper Top.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for this great opportunity.
And they didn't start it, right? We started it. I still don't. I mean,
Mr. President, thank you for
I
your
get that they.
Thank you.
I have two quick.
I get that they fucking set off IEDs and shit like that over in Iraq, but they should have done something about it then.
Questions, Mr. President. What was your reaction when you learned that Kurdistan region had resumed
No doubt, Chad, no doubt.
to the international market with your support as United States of
I
America?
expect for shit to heat up here in a little bit.
Gotten along with the Kurds for a long time, so I expected that.
Another question: What would be your reaction if the Iranian people rise up against their regime during a ceasefire, Mr. President?
Well, they should do it, but again, the consequences are great. I mean, they were told you, if you protest, you will be shot immediately. You saw what happened to the young wrestler. He was a great champion, by the way. He was a great wrestler, one of the top in the world. And he and his two friends were hung. And all they did was say a little bit about liberty. They wanted liberty, and they were violently executed. But the number is up to probably 45,000 people were killed. So, you know, when somebody stays in a house, when they know if they walk out of the house to protest, they'll be immediately shot and killed. And they issued that, you know, that was publicly issued. It's not a secret. That's why so many people say, oh, well, why are you doing this way?
Oh, shit.
Track business mileage with the
Damn
QuickBooks mobile
commercials.
app. Automatically track your potential mileage deduction. Get started tracking miles today.
And far less radical. We have regime change, but we didn't do this for regime change. We did it for
bullshit. You did this for regime change.
very simple. I saw somebody said, oh, he doesn't have a plan. I have the best plan of all, but I'm not going to tell you what my plan is. You know, they want me to say, here's my plan. We're going to attack at 9:47 in the morning, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to, and if you don't do that, they say, I have a plan. These people know what the plan is. Everybody here knows what the plan is, but it's very unfair to say we don't, because I don't mind being insulted. I've been insulted for many years by the fake news, but you can't. It's so bad for the people that are so pro. You just saw two great, and John Ratcliffe, three unbelievable people. They have a plan. Every single thing has been thought out by all of us, but I can't reveal the plan to the media. So, you know, but we're just thrilled by the success of this operation. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've said Iranians would be mad if you stopped these attacks, but why would they want you to blow up their infrastructure, to cut off their power? Wouldn't that be punishing Iranians for the actions of the regime?
They would be willing to, and it's suffering. They would be willing to suffer that in order to have freedom. The Iranians have, and we've had numerous intercepts. Please keep bombing. Bombs that are dropping near their homes. Please keep bombing. Do it. And these are people that are living where the bombs are exploding. And when we leave and we're not hitting those areas, they're saying, please come back, come back, come back. These are the people. I don't know what they do. All I can tell you is they want freedom. They have lived in a world that you know nothing about. It's a violent, horrible world where if you protest, you are shot. Remember the great woman protests where they had 400,000, 500,000 women, and they were all enthused and they were going to protest, and everybody said, oh, the regime's going to come to an end. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, 5, 6 different areas. A woman would go down right between the eyes. They had snipers. They had 5 snipers. That's all it took. And those 400,000 or 500,000 women said, oh my God, what's that? Oh, look over there. What's that? A woman shot right between the eyes. And after 5 or 6 of them go down, then you start hearing the purr through the vast number of people. And then they said, oh my God, who would do that? and they're incredible people, but they've lived so horribly. They've lived so horribly. You know, Iran was a great country if you go back 25 years ago or so. The Persian people, they're incredible, smart, brilliant, actually. And I know so many. I know coming from New York, originally, I know so many people from Iran. They're incredible people, incredible energy, and very, very brilliant people. But when you're standing in a group and protesting, and you have a woman, in the case of the woman, remember the Great Woman March. Everybody was saying, "Oh, this is the end of the country," and then snipers selectively picked. Every single one was shot right between the eyes from a long distance. They were on top of buildings. Nobody even knew where they were. Where they coming from? This wasn't like a
you know, fucking pimp got him a beer. Ain't no doubt about that.
This was snipers sitting on the top of buildings, aiming and hitting women. And when they see people go down, and all of a sudden there's a riot in the reverse direction, and they never came out again. And a lot of the news doesn't talk about that. They talk about, oh, women's rights. You want to see women's rights? You're not going to see it there. It's amazing when I see some of the stupid people, like, you know, AOC +3, all that.
It's some of the stupid people.
Freedom for Iran. They don't tell you the real facts. Women, men, gays. How about gays for Iran? They kill the gays. They throw them off buildings. So I wonder what's going on. I can only say this. They want us to keep bombing, even if it jeopardizes, because their life is in much greater danger. They want freedom for Iran, but it's very hard for them to protest. I actually tell them, I said, don't go out. I fully understand. Nobody in this room would go out. I don't think there's any, because frankly, it's not a question of bravery. We're all brave, right? You're brave. I'm brave. We're all brave, but we're also intelligent. If you have people shooting at you, expert shots with the best rifles you can get, and hitting you right between the eyes every single time, and you're looking here and you're seeing and you're looking here, you're out of there. I don't care who it is. Please.
Mark Meredith, Fox News.
I know that.
Oh, thank you.
Go ahead.
America's watching. No,
good job.
Can we go back to the weekend? First off, was everyone on board with the operation, or were there people that were trying to talk you out of going through with the operation this weekend?
Not everybody was on board.
Somebody else within?
No, there were military people, very professional, that preferred not doing it. These two were totally on board.
I honestly, Chad, expected like a lot of more lone wolf shit to be happening in the United States. I'm thankful that it's not, but I don't think we're clear yet. I think this shit will happen for years to come. The FBI is going to have to be really, really on top of their game to keep us safe over here.
A little difficulty, but no, there were military people that said you just don't do this. You don't go into the heart of a very powerful military. You know, this is, hey, you have countries and countries. You have some countries where military is not their strong suit. This whole thing is militarized like nobody's ever seen before. Half the people are wearing uniforms. And we had people within the military.
Mama, he might be.
Usually it's not done. That's one of the reasons. You know, I was surprised. Somebody said it's the only time it's ever been done. I said, that's not possible. But it is possible, because you're going into hundreds of thousands of soldiers along the path. I mean, look at some of the helicopters, how they got hit. So, yeah, there were people within the military that said it's a wise. And don't forget, how many men did you send altogether, approximately, for the operation?
I'd love to keep that a secret.
Okay, well, but I will tell you the number. I'll keep it a secret, but it was hundreds and hundreds of these people. It's pretty good. Is he central casting? But hundreds of people went into this journey. Hundreds of people could have been killed. Forget about the equipment. A lot of equipment. Nobody cares. Hundreds of people could have been killed. So we had people that were within the military that said this is not a wise, and I understood that, but I decided to do it.
Was there a point that they were going to?
And they should, Gothard. If that's the truth, they should. People shouldn't be leaking that shit.
I mean, given the resource like the general said, it seemed like there was so much on the line here. You must have been thinking, well, this could have completely changed.
So the first one, which was in many ways as dangerous as the second, I guess it gets, because we're flying over daylight. You know, we're the best at the world at night. We have goggles that nobody. We have goggles. I've tried them. They're unbelievable. I see better with the goggles at night than I see without them during daylight. I mean, daylight today, we have a beautiful day. You see just as well with goggles. In many ways, it's enhanced. So we have the best in the world. So it's much safer for us to do it at night, whereas other people, no other country has that capability. They don't have that particular piece of equipment like we do. But when I was told flying and in daylight, I think we flew 7 hours over Iran, and that's a long time, over unbelievably hostile territory where they have nothing but weapons. We took out their anti-aircraft, which is great. We took out their radar, which is great. We took out a lot, but they still have, what hit this one was a handheld shoulder missile, heat-seeking missile. So it's not like, they're totally whatever. And they had probably a little luck because you got to get lucky. But they shot it and it got sucked in right by the engine. But these guys were out of there. They were great. Their timing was great. But no, I was told that this is a very dangerous mission. I understand. They didn't say it's a foolish mission. They said, we're going to be sacrificing hundreds of people do this. You have tankers that are flying over this area so that because the flight was so long, they had to refuel. It's a very dangerous mission. I just felt it was worth it. If you would have told me that we would have been successful, gotten both, and nobody was even essentially injured, I would have said that would be impossible. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Given that you are now dealing, you say, with a more reasonable, less extreme leadership in Iran, what does that mean for the protesters, for the human rights movement in that country?
How the fuck is he going to answer that question? He don't know.
Assume control if we do something and they assume control. I think it's very positive, a big step. I don't think you'd see the radicalization that you have seen in the last. Look what happened. Women are being executed because they're not properly clothed.
The fuck's he supposed to know? He ain't been to Iran.
And they execute the women. They absolutely.
Stupid ass fucking question.
No, you have a much different group of people. Now, I'm not saying we are dealing with them. Essentially, they have till 8 o'clock tomorrow night, Eastern time. But we are dealing with them. I think it's going well. Mr. Witkoff is here, and JD's involved in dealing. Mr. Witkoff is sitting right here, and I think it's going fine, but we'll have to see. You have to understand, we've been dealing with these people for 47 years. I'm standing here with a much more powerful Iran as of a month ago, not anymore. Right now, they are decapitated. But I'm standing here a month ago with a much more powerful Iran than it was at any point during 47 years. This should have been handled by 7 presidents, a lot of presidents. And those presidents are saying now, every one of them to their friends, we should have done this a long time ago. So it's not something I like doing. It's very dangerous. And we're getting them at the height of their strength. If I didn't terminate the Barack Hussein Obama Iran nuclear deal, they would have had don't forget, that was a path to a nuclear weapon. Remember this.
What up, Grizz?
Iran over Israel. Pure and simple.
Obama did too.
Vote for a Democrat.
Obama did too, man.
You're Jewish in New York City or any place else in this country, and how you can vote for a Democrat is unbelievable because he chose Iran.
That's a hard one, right? Because why would you say any of them's hurt?
Billions of
that's a hard one. I don't know. I've heard different numbers. I think Iran is putting out fake fucking news. Just like with aircraft carriers.
Then they gave them tens of billions of dollars. He chose
bunches of cash, Shaky P.
Israel. And really the Arab world, if you look, because, the other Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE. You take a look. I can add Kuwait and I can add Bahrain and you can add others. He chose such an unlikely candidate. Nobody could believe it. Frankly, if you're going to choose between Iraq and Iran, he should have befriended Iraq. He went in the exact opposite direction of all thinking. And he made a terrible mistake. But that was a road to a nuclear weapon. And when I terminated that, Everyone said, "Oh, he terminated it. It was one of the best things we ever did because he had a road to a nuclear weapon, and it was a very short-term deal. You know, countries don't do 10-year deals. Countries do hundreds of years. You don't do a 10-year deal. For a country, this isn't, you're a landlord and you're renting a store on a certain street and you give somebody a 5-year or 10-year lease. This is a country. It was a short-term deal. It was ready to expire. I terminated it before it expired. Took a lot of heat, and it was one of the best things I ever did because he would have had a nuclear weapon. Then he would have had another nuclear weapon, had those beautiful B-2 bombers not gone in 8 months ago and obliterated that site. And by the way, the word is obliteration. CNN said, well, maybe it wasn't complete. It was so complete that they still haven't been able to get it. It was obliteration. But if we didn't hit them, that was a courageous decision too, because we had all those planes flying in at night with very little cover, unbelievable stealth planes, and they were able to do their job. If we didn't do that, Iran would have had a nuclear weapon at a high level, either one of those two instances. And if they did, in my opinion, I told this to Bibi Netanyahu yesterday, Israel would have been extinguished. Large portions of the Middle East would have been extinguished, whether it's Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, or others. And you saw that with thousands of missiles raining down upon them. They didn't think they were going to be hit. They thought they'd be watching us fight. And all of a sudden, UAE got hit by 1,500 missiles. He would have taken them out also. And they were powerful. If I didn't come along and terminate the Obama deal, which was terrible, Iran nuclear deal was a road to a nuclear weapon, a big one, unlimited, legally. I terminated it without even much thought. It was so easy. I terminated that. And then the B-2 bombers. And I did one other thing. I had killed Qasem Soleimani, who was an evil genius. And the reason I did it, I heard he was going to knock out 5 of our military bases. And had he lived, I believe we would be fighting perhaps a different Iran right now, because he's never been replaced, you know. And I did one other, but this one was not picked up. Osama bin Laden. If you read my book, I said you got to take him out 1 year before the World Trade Center came down. So I wish you'd read the book. But you,
yeah, I remember. I've seen some earlier footage of Trump talking about this shit with Iran back when he was in his early 40s.
Mr. President, last week you suggested that Europe should take the lead on reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Had circumstances changed now that you're issuing a direct 48-hour ultimatum? And secondly,
yeah, ain't nobody trying to hear Kamala.
Would it just be between Iran
I can't
and
talk
US?
about ceasefire, but I can tell you that we have a active, willing participant on the other side. They would like to be able to make a deal. I can't say any more than that.
You've listed the goals. Excuse me.
Please, go ahead.
You've listed the goals.
Who you with?
What are you talking about, Tex?
The largest Kurdish media, the True Media Network. It's based in Iran.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, you said before that you don't want the Kurdish forces to enter Iran and disarm it. Do you still want them to stay away, or what role do you expect them to play now?
I'd rather have them stay away.
And then,
I'd rather have them stay away because I think they bring with them some problems and some difficulties. And I don't think they bring death, I mean, you know, to themselves. But I'd rather have them stay away. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the question. Deliberate attacks on civilian infrastructure violate the Geneva Conventions and international law.
Who are you with?
I'm with the New York Times. Zolan from the New York Times. Are you
failing?
Are you concerned?
Circulation way down at the New York Times.
Are
What's
you
going on
concerned
with
that your threat to bomb power plants and bridges amount to
No,
war
not at
crimes?
all. No, I'm not. I hope I don't have to do it. But again, I just said 47 years they've been negotiating with these people. They're great negotiators. And because they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And if somebody that takes my place someday is weak and ineffective, which possibly that will happen because we had numerous presidents that were weak, ineffective, and afraid of Iran, we're never going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And if you think it's okay for people that are sick of mind, that are tough, smart, and sick.
Yeah, I think I heard something about that.
From a policy standpoint,
They were over here supposedly living a lavish lifestyle, hated America. It's awful funny they hate us so bad, but they'll damn sure come here, won't they?
powerful and rich, to have a nuclear weapon, you can tell your friends at the New York Times, not going to happen.
That means violating
Quiet,
international law.
quiet. You no longer have credibility at the New York Times because the New York.
Yeah, nah. I think I read about that yesterday, Tex, if I'm not mistaken.
This is Gobble. He's our mill, and he's going to help save the world. Gobble eats everything we don't finish.
Great. The old gray lady, it was great, but they're running on past fumes, and you can't keep doing that. You have to be able to.
I think a holding facility got hard.
People like you, who I know, are fake. You're fake. Go ahead, please.
Oh, they definitely, ADA, they definitely want to cause as much havoc and fucking bullshit as they can.
To the Stone Ages, and we've heard a range of those kind of messages. So which is it? Are you winding this down? Or are you escalating?
I can't tell you. I don't know. I can't tell you. Depends what they do. This is a critical period. They have a period of.
I stopped in Political Pyro's little podcast yesterday or day before. I think it was yesterday. And he was talking about the down pilot over there and shit and how this and that. I was like, motherfucker, it's not even a pilot. It's a weapons systems officer. And they already got him. And he just was looking. I was like, yeah, bro, all you doing is just repeating a bunch of fucking recycled garbage.
Till tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I gave them an extension. They asked for an extension of 7 days, right? I said, Steve, give them 10 days. 10 days is up actually today. So I gave him 11, I guess, indirectly. I thought it was inappropriate the day after Easter. I want to be a nice person. They have till tomorrow. Now we'll see what happens. I can tell you they're negotiating, we think, in good faith.
Shouldn't give them a timeline period. You ought to just fucking do it.
Incredible countries that want this to be ended because it affects them also. A lot of people are affected by this, but we're giving them till tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And after that, they're going to have no bridges. They're going to have no power plants. Stone Ages, yeah. Stone Ages. CNN fake news.
Are you willing to make a deal that does not include reopening the Strait of Hormuz, or is that now a top priority?
I would say it's a very big priority because, see, that's one thing that's a little different than other things. We can bomb the hell out of them. We can knock them out for a loop. But to close the strait, all you need is one terrorist that somehow has a truck loaded with, because you can carry them in trucks, large trucks, a water mine, drop them in the water. And now you tell people that own ships that cost $1 billion to don't worry about the mine. You can do that even just by saying we put mines in the water. So it's not like the rest. We can knock out their military. We already have.
Shady J, I don't believe nothing comes out of Iran.
We've knocked out 158 ships in 3 days. We've knocked out even their mine droppers. They don't have any mine droppers anymore, but they put them on other boats and they could drop them. I'm not even sure they have any mines there, by the way. I'm not sure. I'm personally, they say there might be 8. I don't know. I think there might be none because they're very good bullshit artists. That's why for 47 years they've been bullshitting other presidents and they haven't done the job.
It's
and
a
people
bullshit artist.
You live in that country, they're living in hell. No, I think that 47 years of this stuff is long enough. They're at the weakest point they've ever been. They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. They have no anti-aircraft weaponry. They have no radar. They have no communication. In fact, the biggest problem we have in our negotiation is that they can't communicate. I said to Steve, what are they saying? Sir, they can't communicate. They have no method of communication. So well,
we know that's not true. We know that's not true because they're posting shit on the internet. So they got a way to fucking communicate. That's bullshit.
children bringing a note.
We just watched live video of them blowing shit up over there. How in the fuck did they get that out? They got internet.
I want to have a safe world, and you're not going to have a safe world. Israel will be gone. The Middle East will be gone. And then they're coming for Europe. And
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, pimp.
very disappointed in NATO. Very. I think that NATO, I think it's a mark on NATO that will never disappear. Never disappear in my mind. You know, they're coming to see me on Wednesday. They're going to say, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that. Now they all of a sudden want to send things, you know.
What's up, info?
But they said it loud and clear at the beginning when I spoke to
Hey,
you.
Miss Gina. Hey, I totally forgot. I was over here trying to remember. I swear I was.
And I said, yeah, I'd love to have a little help. He said, no, sir, we'd rather wait till you win. I said, I don't need help after we win. They have 2 old broken aircraft carriers, barely work. I said, I guess we can use them. Who the hell knows? I called the general. He didn't even want them. He said, we don't really need them.
Yeah, that's what I was watching them do. They shot them helicopters up, didn't they?
You know, we have, in terms of technology, we had one day 101
Which I don't blame him. He can't say too fucking much, right? Like, what's he supposed to do? Give him the battle plan? I get all that.
Out of 101 missiles, 101 missiles were shot down. Unbelievable technology. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I don't know if that would have been possible. But 10 years ago, that wouldn't have been possible. 101 missiles heading to a ship that's not that far off the coast. And out of the 101 missiles, we shot down all 101. We have weaponry. The Patriots are unbelievable. We have weaponry that's unbelievable. Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said earlier today during the egg roll that you would like to take Iran's oil, but Americans want U.S. forces home.
Correct.
What's that trade-off?
If I had my
Does it
choice,
take too
if I had my
much time?
choice, yeah, because I'm a businessman first. With Venezuela, as you know, the war was over in about 45 minutes. And we have great people running Venezuela, very good people. I mean, the relationship is good. And we are a partner with Venezuela. And we've taken hundreds of millions of barrels, hundreds of millions. Over 100 million barrels already is in Houston, refined and out. And paid for that war many, many times over, many times. You know, the old days, to the victim. Okay, you know that. To the winner belong the spoils. Go the spoils. And I've said, why don't we use it?
What's up, Dan?
Go the spoils. And we don't have that. We haven't had that in this country probably in 100 years, because even the Second World War, you look at the Second World War, we didn't have it with the Second World. We helped rebuild all those countries. We rebuilt Germany. How about Germany telling us that, well, it's not their war. We had nothing to do with it. They wanted me to go and tell them everything I was doing. We didn't know anything about it. Well, if I would have told them, they would have leaked it, and we wouldn't have been nearly as successful, possibly, right? But to the victor belong the spoils. So we haven't heard that in, I think, maybe hundreds of years. Now with Venezuela, and we, just so you understand, the people of Venezuela, they say if I ran for president of Venezuela, I'm polling higher than anybody has ever polled in Venezuela. So after I'm finished with this, I can go to Venezuela. I will quickly learn Spanish. It won't take too long. I'm good at language. And I will go to Venezuela. I'm going to run for president. But we're very happy with the president-elect that we have right now. The people that are running it. If you remember Bush with Iraq, they fired the generals, they fired the police, they fired the people that worked in their equivalent of the White House. They fired everybody. And you know what they had? They had a mess. And you know what happened? ISIS formed. Those generals and those soldiers got together. The police got together. They all got together. They formed ISIS. Not going to happen with us. So Venezuela has been an incredible situation. We went in. We were very successful. Military power like nobody's ever seen. The general, Venezuelan general, said, I was on that site. I said, I've never seen ferocity like that. I've been doing this for 40 years. He said, I've never seen it. They hit us from 17 different, they were all set. They saw that big, beautiful aircraft carrier, the Ford in that case, and planes were pouring off it at 1 o'clock in the morning. So typically when you see that late at night, you know, you could be in trouble, right? And we were all ready. They had their equipment. It was Russian, and they had Chinese equipment. It was all set. They were going to give us a fight. He said, and then they came, and they came at speeds like we've never seen. And they came at 17 different angles. The general and his people, that was a lot of angles. They hit him from every angle. He said, we knew it was over in 3 minutes. We were waiting for them. Their equipment didn't work. And there's a reason it didn't work. Someday we'll explain that to people. They pressed the button, nothing happened. They pressed it again and again, nothing happened. And he said, we knew this whole thing was over in 3 minutes. We've never seen any, he used the word ferocity. The ferocity of these planes from 17 different angles, and it was over. They went inside.
Yeah, I know it, covered top.
That was on a military base with thousands of soldiers. And those soldiers looked and they said, get the hell out of here. Thousands. We didn't have thousands. We had like 200 people. So we have a great military. And I'll tell you what, somehow this rescue captured the world's attention, more so than normally. You're talking about 2 people. But this rescue captured the world's attention. But we did it in Venezuela. That was amazing. And now we have a very bad man in prison and going to trial. I mean, he released, aside from the drugs, which he was terrible, Maduro released hundreds of thousands of people from jails into our country. Drug dealers, murderers, the worst people in the world were released into our country because we had a stupid president who probably didn't know. And we had a border czar who never went to the border and never once called our great border patrol agents, right? Not once, Kamala. She never called the border patrol. She never said, how we doing? I used to call the border patrol guys every day. You can ask them, Paul, ask any one of them. Brandon, ask them all the time. How are we doing? How are we doing? And we now, I'm proud to say, have a totally sealed border. 9 months, nobody is coming through our border. And nobody even tries because they know they're not going to get through. So we don't have caravans anymore. So maybe 1 or 2 more and we'll be done.
Mr. President, are you allowed to, or are you willing to end this conflict with Iran charging tolls for passage through the strait?
Us charging tolls?
Iran.
What about us charging tolls?
Is that something you're considering?
I'd rather do that than let them have them, right? Why shouldn't we? We're the winner. We won, okay? They are militarily defeated. The only thing they have is the psychology of, oh, we're going to drop a couple of mines in the water, all right? No, we have a concept where we'll charge tolls, okay? I thought you meant us. Your question would have been more accurate if you said us. Go ahead.
Just to clarify, in order for Iran to successfully meet your deadline tomorrow, do they have to make a deal, open the strait, or both?
We have to have a deal that's acceptable to me. And part of that deal is going to be, we want free traffic of oil and everything else.
This is like a fucking skit, man.
You said glory be to God in this conflict. Do you believe that God supports the United States actions in this
I do,
war?
because
And have you
God
sought
is
his direction?
good, because God is good, and God wants to see people taken care of. God doesn't like what's happening. I don't like what's happening. Everyone says, I don't enjoy this. I don't enjoy it. These 2 guys don't enjoy it. You know, people say, oh boy, they're so tough. They don't like
Yeah, I can picture that, Shaky.
I've ended 8 wars. Nobody's ever done it. The person who won the Nobel Prize came to me and said, you deserve the Nobel Prize. She announced that when they announced, they said, goes to Maria. She's a great person, really a good person. She said, no, this is ridiculous. They gave me the Nobel Prize. President Trump ended 8 wars. I could go over every one of them, including India and Pakistan, where the Prime Minister of Pakistan said, President Trump saved from 30 to 50 million lives. That makes me much happier than what we're doing right now. That makes me much happier. We have 1 more to end, by the way.
Okay. President, you called yesterday in your Truth Social, you called the Iranians crazy bastards.
True.
What is your response?
No, he said crazy fucking bastards. Get it right, bitch.
Critics who said it is your mental health that should perhaps be examined as this war continues.
I haven't heard that. But if that's the case, you're going to have more people like me, because our country was being ripped off on trade, on everything for many years until I came along. So if that's the case, you're going to have more people. Dasha, go ahead. Dasha, go.
You said that very little is off limits in Iran as far as the targeting,
Yeah.
including power plants, bridges. You've mentioned those.
Very little is off limits.
Are there certain kinds of civilian targets, though? I'm thinking.
I don't want to
schools or
tell you
hospitals
that.
you
I don't want
would
to tell you that. We have a plan, because of the power of our military, where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock. And it'll happen over a period of 4 hours if we wanted to. We don't want that to happen. We may even get involved with helping them rebuild their nation.
Fuck.
And you know what? If that's the case, the last thing we want to do is start with power plants, which are among the most expensive thing, and bridges. You saw the bridge one. We were very close to a deal. And then I got a call from Mr. Witkoff, Mr. Kushner, and JD saying, I think they're breaking the deal. I said, tell them that's okay. Don't worry about it. But tell them to look out their window and watch. And within 45 minutes, I gave the order to knock out the biggest bridge. I gave the order, knock out the biggest bridge in, I believe, the Middle East, but the biggest bridge in Iran.
It's fucking advertisements.
Infrastructure? No. It will take them 100 years to rebuild. Right now,
Oh, yeah.
if we left today,
Yeah, Bulldog. They definitely are.
20 years to rebuild their country, and it would never be as good as it was. And the only way they're going to be able to rebuild their country is to utilize the genius of the United States of America.
Who wants to rebuild their fucking country, though?
You voiced your displeasure with NATO in the past. Is there a danger to the U.S. not being the de facto of the leader of the alliance, and then other powers within the alliance then getting the decision making when it
Yeah,
comes
88. It's almost over, though.
It's not a danger. NATO's, look, we went to NATO. I didn't ask very strongly. I just said, hey, if you want to help, great. No, we will not help. I said, that's all right. You don't want to help? Because I've always said NATO's a paper tiger. See, NATO's a paper tiger. Putin's not afraid of NATO. Putin's afraid of us, very afraid of us. And he's explained it to me a lot of times. I got to know him very well. I know him very well. NATO's a paper tiger. NATO is us. And when we needed them, we didn't need them, by the way. We didn't need them, obviously, because they haven't helped at all. Just the opposite. They've actually gone out of their way not to help. They didn't even want to give us landing strips. Think of it. And it's not just NATO. You know who else didn't help us? South Korea didn't help us. You know who else didn't help us? Australia didn't help us. You know who else didn't help us? Japan. We've got 50,000 soldiers in Japan to protect them from North Korea. We have 45,000 soldiers in South Korea to protect us from Kim Jong-un, who I get along with very well, as you know. Do you notice he said very nice things about me? He used to call Joe Biden a mentally retarded person, okay? So don't tell me about your stuff. Joe Biden, he said he's a mentally retarded person. He was so nasty to Joe Biden. It was terrible. But to me, he likes Trump. And do you notice how nice things are with North Korea? It's very nice. But we have 45,000 people, soldiers, in harm's way, and right next to Kim Jong-un with a lot of nuclear weapons. 45, which should have never happened if a certain president, I'm not going to mention this president because I happen to like him, believe it or not, but if a certain president did his job, Kim Jong-un would not have nuclear weapons right now. But they were all afraid to do their job properly. But just to conclude and just to finish, Japan didn't help us, Australia didn't help us, South Korea didn't help us, and then you get to NATO, NATO didn't help us. There were some countries that did. Now, countries that have been good, now you could also say they're got to be a little bit more involved because they're in the territory, but Saudi Arabia has been excellent, Qatar has been excellent, UAE has been excellent, Bahrain, Kuwait. I mean, Kuwait did shoot down 3 of our planes. The only planes really that we lost with friendly fire, they call it. I call it unfriendly fire. They unfortunately didn't know how to use our great Patriots. The pilot said, "What kind of a missile's coming at us?" Patriot. Boom, they got out because they know a Patriot never misses. So they had beautiful Patriots. There were planes heading in their direction. Unfortunately, they decided to shoot those planes. They were our planes. So, NATO is a paper tiger. Now, he's coming to see me on Wednesday, as you know. He's a wonderful guy. Secretary General is great. And Mark Rutte, he's a great person, but he's got, and it all began with, if you want to know the truth, Greenland. We want Greenland. They don't want to give it to us. And I said, bye-bye. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Why do they keep hollering like that when he's walking off? They know he's not going to fucking answer them. Yeah, shut the fuck up and go away. Go eat some lunch or something, lady. Fuck. The fuck do they keep hollering like that for? This is the dumbest shit I've ever fucking heard in my life when they do that shit. All right, let me cut that shit off. So I seem to think that this shit will crank the fuck up tonight. I don't know if it will, but I seem to think it will. So if you want the live feed for the cameras, that's the damn channel right there. Soka Dikashi, or however the fuck you say it. But that's the feed for it. Let's see what Cashville talking about. Mr. Fucking crazy.
Y'all want to see some crazy work?
Say whatever you want to say.
Please step out. Yeah, step out and you can record, but step out. I'm giving you a lawful order now to step out. I'm going to search your car because of the cannabis.
Okay.
Step out. I see the cannabis. So I'm going to search your car. I'm giving you a lawful order. You're going to be arrested for obstruction at this point. I'm not going to keep asking. I'm being nice with you.
Step out.
Screw it.
The police to myself, they want to give out gloves, because they see the cannabis. Because they see.
Just leave that blunt. Just leave it right there.
Right here, they want to say step out.
But step out. I'm being nice with you. I didn't even have to ask your consent. I'm just being. So go ahead, step out, Mr. Pruitt.
That's fine. That's fine.
Just face the car for me. You don't have no weapons or nothing like that?
Nah, man, dude. Hold on. Hey, Encourage, stop touching me. What's your name? What's your name? What's your badge number?
157. Relax, brother, relax. Face the car, I'm going to do a pat down.
Stop touching me, bro. You can do a pat down.
I'm going to do a pat down on you for weapons. Okay, put your hands behind your back.
Now you're going to jail.
Put your hands behind your back. Go arrest now for obstruction.
Come on, man. You're doing
We're not gonna play that. Stop. Because I told you I was gonna do a pat down on you, and you're not letting me search it. I'm gonna do a pat down on you, and you're not letting me search it.
Ma'am, I'm not doing anything. Look, you can take me over there.
Okay, hold on.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm not doing anything wrong.
Nah, I know you lying. Man, I know you lying.
You just had a.
Oh my God.
Hey, y'all
good?
Ha. Take off my car, man.
I don't care what nobody says. That's that man's best friend from here on out. Y'all want to see some crazy work?
Damn right. He just drove off with all the dope, didn't he?
Watch every March Madness game live, all in one place. With YouTube TV, subscription required. Cancel anytime.
Iran has also vowed a forceful and decisive response following the deadly March 31st attack, raising fears of further escalation ahead. Iran continues its retaliatory campaign against the United States and Israel, with no visible indication of de-escalation at this stage. The IRGC stated that more than 100 ballistic missiles were launched during what it described as Wave 89 of Operation True Promise. Reports also indicate that Iran deployed attack drones equipped with approximately 200 rockets over long operational distances. A video released by Press TV on April 1st showed Iran's Garda missile fitted with what was described as an upgraded warhead. Missile strikes attributed to Iran were reported to have hit locations in Tel Aviv and Bnei Brak in Israel, as well as the Erbil region in Iraq. In Bahrain, Iranian sources claimed that a facility associated with US forces at a military installation was targeted. The IRGC further alleged that around 80 American personnel were affected during the course of these missile strikes, according to Press TV. A U.S. Army helicopter at the Ulu Dairi base was also reportedly struck during the ballistic missile barrage. Additional reports suggest that Iran targeted U.S. surveillance aircraft and aerial refueling platforms stationed at bases across the Gulf. Meanwhile, Israel has continued efforts to respond to Iranian strikes, even as it absorbs sustained pressure from ongoing attacks. On April 1st, an Israeli airstrike reportedly misfired, striking a former U.S. embassy building located in Tehran. According to initial reports, windows at the embassy site were blown out, although no significant structural damage was confirmed. The same strike was also reported to have caused damage to facilities linked to Russia within Tehran. Russia's embassy in Iran stated that the attack impacted the St. Nicholas Orthodox Cathedral in the city. Moscow also reported that a Russian nursing home in Tehran sustained damage following the Israeli strike. In addition, both the United States and Israel are facing criticism over an alleged strike on an Iranian pharmaceutical company. This follows a large-scale U.S. airstrike conducted in Isfahan on March 31st targeting infrastructure in the area. The facility in question is reported to manufacture critical medicines, including treatments for cancer and other serious conditions. Iranian officials have accused Washington and Tel Aviv of carrying out actions that could constitute violations of international law. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi warned that Iran would respond decisively to Israel over the March 31st.
So hold on now. If they're fucking talking about war crimes and shit, but they're out there killing protesters, I mean, what the fuck is going on here?
Abbas Araghchi said, and I quote, "The war criminals in Israel are now openly and unashamedly bombing pharmaceutical companies. What they've gotten wrong is that they're not dealing with defenseless Palestinian civilians. Our powerful armed forces will severely punish aggressors." End quote. The Iranian embassy in Japan also issued a strong statement condemning both the United States and Israel for the attack. The Iran embassy said, and I quote, "In a deplorable act, the American and Israeli regimes have targeted Tufik Daru, a prominent Iranian pharmaceutical research company. This enterprise specializes in manufacturing essential medicines, including anti-cancer drugs and anesthetics, indispensable for treating cancer patients. This deliberate targeting of a medical production facility is a blatant assault on humanitarian principles that the international community cannot afford to ignore." End quote. US President Donald Trump's tirade against Iran continued, even as Tehran resisted his proposed 15-point peace framework. The Trump administration is now reportedly shifting focus toward Iran's civilian infrastructure as part of its broader pressure strategy. On March 30th, President Trump publicly vowed a strong and decisive response to Iran's retaliatory strikes across the region. He also claimed that the United States would respond to Iranian strikes targeting Israel's Haifa and Kuwait, according to the New York Post. When pressed for specifics on the planned response, the US president offered only a brief remark, saying, "You'll see shortly." Trump further warned Iran to reach an agreement quickly, cautioning that the window for diplomacy may soon.
So what is Iran doing when they're fucking sending rockets over into densely populated civilian areas?
Close entirely. He also reportedly placed Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf on notice amid rising tensions. The US president indicated he would allow roughly a week to assess whether Ghalibaf is willing to cooperate in negotiations. On March 31st, Trump's defense chief also issued a warning to Tehran, urging it to move toward a deal with Washington without delay.
I can tell you, having been with Steve and Jared and the vice president and Marco and many others yesterday. They are very real. They are ongoing.
Probably 88.
They're active and I think gaining strength. And we appreciate that. As I said in my remarks, we would much prefer to get a deal. If Iran was willing to relinquish
they're not
material they have and ambitions they have, open this, great. That's the goal. We don't want to have to do more militarily than we have to. But I didn't mean it flippantly when I said, in the meantime, we'll negotiate with bombs. Our job is to ensure that we compel Iran to realize that this new regime, this regime in charge, is in a better place if they make that deal. And so we'll continue. We're working hand in hand, but the primary effort is a deal. We want that deal to be accomplished if at all possible. If not, then we're prepared to continue.
Trump's latest remarks
That's
to the
what
New York
they should have
Post
did to
came
start
alongside renewed threats targeting Iran's critical civilian infrastructure. On March 30th, the US president took to Truth Social, signaling pressure on Iran to return to the negotiating table. He further warned that failure to secure a deal could lead to direct attacks on Iran's energy infrastructure. Donald Trump said, and I quote, "The United States of America is in serious discussions with a new and more reasonable regime to end our military operations in Iran. Great progress has been made, but if for any reason a deal is not shortly reached, which it probably will be, and if the Hormuz Strait is not immediately open for business, we will conclude our lovely stay in Iran by blowing up and completely obliterating all of their electric generating plants, oil wells and Karg Island, and possibly all desalinization plants, which we have purposefully not yet touched. This will be in retribution for our many soldiers and others that Iran has butchered and killed over the old regime's 47-year reign of terror." End quote.
Yeah, the problem with that shit right there is those people fucking forget over
Your
time
favorite movies and
what's happened to the Americans.
TV are on YouTube. Press play on something new.
Today's the day.
If the United States were to strike Iran's desalination facilities, it could severely disrupt water access for millions of civilians. Experts
Better fill them
speaking to Al
bathtubs
Jazeera
up,
warn
all I can
that
say.
targeting civilian infrastructure in such a
It's
manner could
coming.
constitute a war crime. Under international law, deliberate attacks on civilian sites during conflict are explicitly prohibited and widely condemned. Earlier, Trump had threatened similar action against Iran's energy sector, but paused those plans amid ceasefire efforts. Iran's deadly missiles and drones are now raining sustained firepower across Israel and critical U.S. assets, signaling a widening scope of retaliation. Have U.S. troops come under renewed threat again, as Iran launches over 100 missiles in what it calls the 89th wave of its operation? Iran now frames this escalation as retaliation for the U.S.-Israeli strike on a key pharmaceutical facility, marking a sharp shift in its response posture. Tehran has also vowed a forceful and decisive response following the deadly March 31st attack, raising fears of further escalation ahead. Iran continues its retaliatory campaign against the United States and Israel, with no visible indication of de-escalation at this stage. The IRGC stated that more than 100 ballistic missiles were launched during what is described as Wave 89 of Operation True Promise. Reports also indicate that Iran deployed attack drones equipped with approximately 200 rockets over long operational distances. A video released by Press TV on April 1st showed Iran's
Let's see what he's talking about.
Welcome in, everyone. I hope you guys are doing great wherever you're watching from today. I'm filming this on April 6th, and we have a very important discussion that we need to have, and I can't wait to hear your guys' feedback. And that is about rumors and theories involving the incredible rescue operation over the weekend to save an F-15 weapons officer. It was a daring, it was a risky, it was a brutally violent mission. But now a lot of people are starting to claim on social media, people with huge platforms, actually the rescue mission was simply a cover story for the real mission, which was a nuke mission to secure the enriched uranium. Is that true? Are we being lied to? What do we know about what actually happened? I'm going to lay it out for you guys. I'm going to tell you how this started. We're gonna
Yeah,
look at
me
some
too,
of the
Copper
footage,
Top.
and
That's
I'm gonna
what
give
I
you my
worry about,
assessment.
bro.
I've spent all day talking with people, making phone calls, hitting up sources. I think I have a fairly good idea. Before we get started, please make sure to like and subscribe. Totally free, huge boost to the channel. Again, I want to see all of you in the comments. Do you believe the official rescue mission story? Or do you believe it was all a cover to launch a daring mission to get all of Iran's enriched uranium? Let me know in the comments below. Hit the notification bell. All notifications turned on. You won't miss a thing. Instagram, David _
I thought they destroyed all of their fucking uranium. What the fuck are they talking about? If they bombed the plant where they had all that shit, wouldn't they have destroyed it already? I mean,
Hooks Media. My DMs are wide open. Now let's get into it. So first and foremost, I'm going to put this up on the screen. For those of you who haven't seen all the footage, I'm just going to play a little bit of it here over the weekend, late Saturday, local time here in America. A massive assault force went in to get our downed F-15 weapons officer. We had SEAL Team 6.
I think some of
We had
these
Air
platforms
Force
just
TJs.
make
We had
shit
Air
up to
Force
have something to
CCTs.
talk about.
We had 160 a SOAR. They built an airfield about 40 kilometers away from Esfahan, which is where all the enriched uranium is. That's going to be important. Remember that. And you saw a great joint operation come in, save this pilot. Now, we did have to blow up some planes on the way out because the ground where they built the runways turned out to be soft, wet, sandy, and the wheels started to sink. So they blew them up. They also blew up a helicopter as well. And then they got the hell out of there with our guys. So this is a little bit of the footage of an unknown. You hear explosions, gunshots, what is believed to be a failed missile. You can see it right there. Now, many of us looked at this mission, myself included, and said, what an incredible moment for America. What an incredible moment for this country, our amazing military. We had already rescued the pilot. Now we've got the weapons.
Oh, no.
Doesn't get
I was saying the enriched uranium, didn't they claim to have blown that site up?
much better than that. It is a reminder to the world of American military power. However, it did not take long for conspiracy theories to pop up. I'm going to put this up on the screen. So these comes from a variety of different sources. This is from Arash Razani's Had. I probably butchered that. He is saying emerging evidence suggests that U.S. operations south of Isfahan were unrelated to any pilot rescue mission. The downed American pilot was reportedly located in southwest Iran near Kolalua in Boyar Ahmad province, marked in blue on the map, not central Iran. Instead, this appears to have been a failed heliborne insertion aimed at locating uranium within Iran. The recent dismissal of seasoned U.S. generals may not be coincidental. It may reflect internal resistance to such high-risk operations. Given Iran's increasingly effective air defenses, that ain't true, and the apparent failure of this mission, the viability of future heliborne incursions deep into Iranian territory is now in serious doubt and may have ultimately been abandoned. So this is what he's claiming on the map here. He's claiming the pilot was at the blue. The actual area with all the planes where they blew them up is in the red. So I'm going to lay out this evidence for you here. I'm going to give you a couple claims, and then I'm going to give you my assessment. It says, Al Hadith Wild report, Iranian officials suggest the U.S. rescue mission may have been a cover operation, possibly linked to uranium or other sensitive materials. They point to a mismatch between the reported crash area and where U.S. forces operated, raising questions about the mission's true objective. So again, this story, this narrative is starting to build that this was actually a failed mission for the uranium. But is that true, or is that a load of BS? Stick with me here. We got a little more evidence to lay out, and then I'm going to give into it. So it says the down pilot, this comes from Finance Lot. This has been going mega viral. It says the down pilot was a fake cover story for a failed U.S. military operation to capture Iran's primary stockpile of highly enriched uranium. The stockpile is in Esfahan. That explains why the U.S. heavily bombed the area while searching and why C-130s were destroyed without loss of life. So you can see the footage right there of the C-130s. Make a note of that. Right here, you can see them, and that is what a C-130 looks like. Now, Mohammed Morandi, the biggest idiot on the internet. He's a spokesperson, essentially, for the Iranian regime. He's saying is now becoming clear what happened in southern Iran was a botched operation carried out by Trump regime. This was not about rescuing a pilot. And Candace Owens also saying the more that is coming out about this pilot rescue, it's looking like a massive disaster of a failed operation the Pentagon is lying about that had nothing to do with rescuing a general. Well, first off, the guy was a colonel. And now let's get into whether or not this is what happened. So I'm going to pull this off the screen real quick. I've talked to a variety of people. I was in contact with people on Saturday. I've been in contact with people since the plane was first shot down. I do my best to make sure the information I'm bringing you guys is 100% accurate. The fact of the matter is, there was no operation to go for the uranium. Why were there C-130s involved? A lot of reasons. You got to bring, number one, people are like, well, there was 100+ operators. You had SEAL Team 6. You had Delta Force. Why did you have to send 100 guys to go get the pilot? Well, you have to send 100 guys because this is a contested ground operation. It is incredibly dangerous. There is IRGC there everywhere. Dan Kane, in the press conference today with Trump, said every Iranian in the area with a weapon with access to small arms was shooting at the U.S. helicopters. So you need to bring an overwhelming amount of force to crush that threat. Now, specifically on the C-130s, a lot of people have said, well, why do you need C-130s? C-130s, do you all know what the kind of helicopters, some that were involved? It was the MH-6 Little Bird. You know what you can carry?
Yeah, I don't like them fucking conspiracy theories either, man.
I believe you can carry up to 2 of them.
As far
per
as with
C-130.
this shit right here now.
And
Now, I do
carry a lot
believe
of
that
people.
there is some
So
conspiracies
clearly
out
what
there.
was
Don't get
happening
me
here
wrong.
in my professional assessment, the axis
What's
of
up,
information
Danielle?
I've
But
seen
when it
and been
comes to
told
this
and
right here-
analyzed is they knew where the pilot was. They bring an overwhelming force. A massive gunfight starts. They are bombing things. One B-1 bomber, I believe they said dropped 100 bombs. The IRGC is swarming the area. I'm going to
I
pull this off
trust
the
them,
screen
for
real
sure.
quick. Swarming the area. We are trying to beat them back with air power, and the guys on the ground, again, according to Jack Murphy and others, engaged in a significant gun battle with the people going after the pilot. These helicopters don't have unlimited range. So you have to have a fuel point somewhere.
250
That
miles.
fuel point is the airfield they built. Now, this is interesting. That airfield, we don't know when we went in and secretly built that. But the plan clearly was we're going to get the pilot. We're going to get all our forces back to this refueling point.
Motherfuckers
We're
over
going
there
to
just
refuel,
building
load up the
airfields and
helicopters.
shit.
Then we're going to fly out of here, bomb and open an avenue to get it. And we're going to use this airfield that we secretly built to do it. Now, the airfield ultimately had issues. That's why we lost 2 C-130s. Here is what I actually do believe is true. I believe that airfield was constructed with the intent of using it eventually in an operation in Esfahan to go get the nuke, the enriched uranium. Well, that obviously can't happen anymore. Now the Iranians know it's there. They're crawling all over the site. So that is likely no longer a card we can play. But we were always, if you've read any of the reports out there, and as I have even talked about before, we have the ability to build airstrips, airfields in hostile territory. There is no proof at all that we attempted a run for the uranium. What we have here is people who don't know what they're talking about coming up with conspiracy theories to discredit the amazing heroic mission to save this pilot. There is nothing conspiratorial, scandalous, or lies about this. We flew in an overwhelming amount of air power. We flew in helicopters, airplanes, SEAL Team 6, Delta Force came in. You had Air Force PJs, Air Force CCTs. We got our guy. We went to the extraction point. The planes had issues. They blew them up, and then we left. That's what happened. That's the true story. If we go for the uranium, you're going to see an operation likely much more significant than this. And that is an option that is certainly being considered. But to answer the questions and the conspiracy theories, no, you are not being lied to. The mission happened as it's being reported publicly, as I have told you it happened. And that's just not me. That's coming from people way smarter than me who know. So be careful what you believe on social media. There are people who lie for attention. They lie to get clicks. It is not true. We did not go for the uranium. We still might, but we did not do it here. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. Do you believe the official story, the one I have brought to you, or do you believe all the conspiracy theories floating around online? Let me know in the comments below. Please make sure to like and subscribe. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.
Let's watch this Delta Force story.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is based
There, I mean, there's yeah, the night I got shot. I shouldn't have walked out of that one alive. It's that one's a long story. I'll try to give you
dig in,
and I'll try to give you and again it's a unit story, so I'll make it unfortunately somewhat vague. But the backside of the story still remains. Is we were going after a very, very high target individual, and the way we wanted to go after him, we were told that we were going to go tonight and for these reasons, and we basically told him, hey, there's a smarter way to do business. We trust us. This is what we do. We'll hit him tomorrow, and under the circumstances that we want. And they basically said, that's fine. Then we'll send the Rangers. And we basically got together and we're like, people are going to die tonight if the Rangers go. And that's not knocking the Rangers. The Rangers are great dudes. But at the end of the day, they're not us. And this, when you do this job long enough, you know, when you get a warning order, if this is going to be, one of those missions or not. And this was just going to be one of those missions. Everything was difficult about the target.
Yeah,
there was no good way to get in.
That's the way
there was a lot.
That's why he was taking that so personally, is because them boys deserve the respect and the credit for what they just pulled. Not very many countries could pull that off in a hostile environment like that. That's why I say it's hats off to the military. These guys train hard, man, and they put their life on the line every time. They deserve the respect that, they just deserve it. And for somebody to try to smear, they're just going to get uranium.
A nasty one.
Fucking kind of crazy.
And it was. And so we basically took it to a vote. And we're like, hey, are we going to go tonight?
It's a fucking shame that
we're gonna let the Rangers go take
our
this one.
vets the way that they do.
Every person in that room raised their hand. And again, it wasn't for glory purposes. Like we truly believe we were saving guys' lives that night by us taking a bad mission that we normally would not have taken. So we take off on
they found they're posting
And,
Chad, I was looking at a different site after anyways, they fucking were posting the pictures of the C-130s blown up like they did something. It's fucking wild.
Just everything was difficult about it. Everyone loves, the movie when guys are fast roping on the target. You don't want to fast rope on the target. Let me tell you, you don't want to be 30 feet off the ground on the noisiest thing in the valley, dangling on a rope or waiting for your turn to dangle on a rope. It is not a good feeling. It's a good way to get a helicopter shot down. It's a good way to get guys shot before they even get a chance to fight. So even though there are times it's the right call, it's not, it's rarely is it option A. We couldn't take that. And so unfortunately, this target was right in the middle of the village. So really the only good way to do it was to land outside the village and run all the way, into target, which unfortunately is going to take some time. And, the prize is probably going to be given up. So that's what we did. We took that option. And by the time we got to target, there wasn't a single person in the inside the target house, but there was a fresh fire going. There's a lot of Taliban paper trail. So we knew someone was there. We knew the intel was right, that we knew they were there that night, that they just heard the helicopters and took off. So we had most of the assault team had a follow-on target they were going to go hit. We had reason to believe a house not too far away was a family member's house, and they were going to go do a follow-on target there. Seemed like a reasonable place for him to go. I was on what's called squirter duty that night. Familiar with the term?
Squirter?
Yeah.
Yeah, when
Squirter
guys
patrol, squirter duty.
Yeah, when they jump, but yeah, when guys start spraying out in all directions, they could be running for weapons, they could be running just to run. But yeah, you'll explain it better to the audience. For the audience,
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, sometimes I hear the helos and they don't exactly have a plan. They just know they don't want to be in the house. You know, that they assume the guys in those helos are coming for them, so they'll usually, like I said, it's usually not a pre-planned thing they do. They just run and they hide in a field. They hide behind trees. They hide behind rocks. Anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I was talking
they
about too,
feel like
brother.
they've gone.
They have posted the pictures of the 2 C-130s blown up like they did it.
Far enough, and they just kind of hunker down.
Let's see if I can find it again.
So it was me, a combo guy, a couple Afghans, and a dog guy, and but I was the only operator on the detail going out, and that's usually a no-no. Even though I had other Americans with me, you really want more than one operator with you, because at the end of the day, that commo guy was a Green Beret and the dog handler was a Green Beret, but in those roles they're filling, they're not filling Green Beret roles, if you will. Their job now is to be a dog guy. Their job now is to be the world's best commo guy. So I was really the only shooter going out. And that was definitely a mistake on my part. But I didn't want to take an assaulter off the follow-on crew, and leave them short.
Let me show you. This is what I was talking about right here. They're claiming they shot this shit down right here. And that's the C-130s that they blew up. They didn't shoot that down. You could tell that that's not a shot down airplane, that they were blew up right there. If it was shot down, it'd be spread all out. You know what I mean? You know that. All right, let's go back to the story.
I didn't take another one with me. And we went around. There were several pockets of small groups of individuals hiding from us. We took care of them pretty quick. And then we hear over the radio that the second place was a dry hole. And so now that makes squirter duty even more important, because he's here. We know he's here. We know he's somewhere. And if he's not in any of these 2 houses, he's probably hiding in one of these squirter pockets. So one of the I didn't know at the time, but was going to be the second to last pocket of squirters I come up against. They're hiding in this orchard. And I hate orchards. Orchards are the worst, because I can tell you, or whoever's giving you information can tell you how many people are in there, but it's rarely right. There's just too many places to hide. And it's people get shot up in orchards, I say fairly often, but it's not what you want. This orchard has this like half wall around this whole orchard. This orchard's about half the size of the football field, with a half wall that surrounds it. And we're sneaking up to this orchard, and I can see a group of them talking about 10 yards from maybe 5 yards from the half wall. And so I tell everyone, I don't know if I've ever told this story in this much detail. And I tell everyone, I said, hey, everyone stay here. I'm going to move up to this half wall. And after I throw a grenade, then I want you guys to move up online, and and that'll kick off this assault. And I am giddy. Like, I'm already thinking this is going to be awesome. Like, the boys by the fire, when they hear this story, it's going to be amazing. And I sneak my way up to this half wall, and I'm kind of laying on my back with the half wall right here. And I get the grenade out, and I'm getting ready to chuck the grenade over this half wall. And I'm just excited. I'm like, man, this is going to be a good one. And I look over one last time to see if the guys are in their position. And this one Afghan is still kind of moving into his position. And he trips in the middle of the night. He trips and he lands. And I could hear those guys, speaking whatever language they're speaking. They're super close. And when he trips, they stop talking. It was so loud. And then I hear him running to the half wall, And as I'm standing here, their AKs are now on over the half wall, just spraying everywhere. They just know there is a sound in the darkness. And I'm like, and I remember sitting there going, as they're just emptying mags with their barrels a couple feet over my face, going, just mad at the Afghan that he took this amazing moment from me. And so after they get done, spraying, I felt like I knew they were running away, but I didn't want to be wrong, and put my hand up there while they're reloading and get my hand shot holding a grenade. When I was, what felt like forever was a couple seconds, and I knew they weren't there anymore. I popped up real quick and I threw my grenade as hard as I could. Here's another thing that will surprise a lot of people. Grenades don't kill people, especially out in the open air in a field. I mean, you'll wound them and you'll piss them off, but grenades don't kill people. And they end up running away. And at this point, now I'm just super pissed off at them that they shot at our guys. I'm mad that my moment of glory was taken away by an Afghan tripping in the dark. And so I make sure that they're followed. And we haven't got Jackpot yet. So I'm fairly certain he's in this group. So they end up running away about a click away, 1,000 meters away from the target location. That's normally too far for a small group to venture out from the main element. Hindsight's always 20/20. At that point, I should have called for a couple more operators to plus up and let them know that I was, going this far away from the main element. But I didn't. I was just out of anger, followed them, and at this point, I get talked on, and that I get told, hey, they are in their area. And as we get really close to them, it's just the way the world works. Our comms go completely.
Yeah, I know it.
We can't get a message out. We can't get a message in. So now it's just me and this small team without any comms at all, wandering around this small area that we know they're at, but we can't get any further intel of exactly where they're hiding like we kind of normally do. So there's this, and we're in this big field. The best way to describe it is there's this big bomb crater in this field. And I remember going up, looking inside it. It was a very dark night, no loom night. Your nods don't work as good on a no loom night. Like, your nods aren't just magic. They amplify the existing light. So a little bit of moonlight helps out your nods immensely. So it was a no moonlight, no loom night, and it was raining that night. And so, they're all fogged up, no loom. I looked down there and it didn't look like anything. So we go searching around. At this point, we get a little bit of radio chatter in and out talking about, hey, where are you guys at? Hey, the helos are running out of gas. They're either going to have to go all the way back and refuel and come back, which is going to take an hour, or we need you guys to hurry up and, get done doing whatever you're doing and come back. And so we huddle up and I tell them, I said, hey, all right, let's go back. But before we go back, that crater, I just my spider senses, whatever it is, like, won't let me, completely, I just don't feel right. And they're like, well, what do you want to do? And I had a couple ideas. I thought about throwing a grenade in that crater. But if I was wrong and they were hiding somewhere else, I would have definitely given up our position. So I didn't want to do that. Right, wrong, or indifferent, people can armchair this decision all they want. But my plan was, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get us up on a line, and it's called a white light blip, which means I'm just gonna turn on my white light for just a split second and kind of look underneath my nods so I can absolutely rule this out. And the thought process was, if I white light blip it, maybe, if they're not looking in this direction, they might see something, but chances are they don't, they'll just go, did you see that? They, may not have really known where we are. It's really unusual. We don't normally use white lights, on nighttime operations. But like I said, I had to clear this depression and my nods just weren't good enough to do it. So I go up there and I go to white light blip it. And I could see at that point, those weren't rocks at the bottom of this depression. It was rocks and guys hiding underneath blankets. And in fact, I kind of didn't even intend to see anything. I kind of was just like, well, I'm just gonna. I blipped it. I started to turn away, and in my mind, it registered what I just saw, and so I came back and kept the white light on, and I said, the G-rated version is there. They are, get them, and we start shooting them. Unfortunately, I was the only one to take shots. The Afghans were more of a spectator that night, and the first guy I shot was still underneath his blanket, so he died. Didn't even know why. The second guy I transitioned over to was just kind of starting to look underneath his blanket. I had a suppressed gun at the time, but I wasn't running subsonic ammo, so you can hear it.
Right.
So between the white light and the rounds going off, he was interested to see what was going on. And so I gave him the good news.
He said I gave him the good news.
So, the next guy over, he's a little bit further out underneath his blanket and starting to reach for his gun. And so I give him the same treatment his other two friends got. But every person I'm transitioning over to is a little bit closer to being up and ready. And so, I send, 4 to 6 rounds at each guy. But here's another thing that it's no one.
What's up, guy?
You shouldn't. No one shoots guys twice and moves on. Like you shoot guys until they stop, until they're no longer a threat.
No.
So, everyone's getting 4 or 6. The first guy got like 8 rounds. When I transition over to the last guy, he has his gun.
You should have just sprayed them all.
And I'm still and I just transitioned over to him, and I'm thinking he's closer to shooting me than I am him. And I pushed my gun as hard and fast as I can, threw a couple rounds his way. He went on full auto and sprayed up. The first couple rounds hit the base of my feet, kind of walking up. One of the rounds hits me right in my forearm, breaks my arm in half, and then the last round, as it turned me, it went right through the middle of my nods and broke my nods in half, and they're dangling on my face, and I spin around like 4 times and hit the ground. And I remember laying in the mud going, damn it. I knew I was going to get shot one day. I was the only guy on my team without a Purple Heart, the only guy. And I just remember going, that didn't hurt as bad as I thought it was going to hurt. And at that time, our combo guy, this all happens in a matter of 5 seconds. Our combo guy runs up and throws a grenade down into the hole, or not a hole, down into this big depression. And it, whatever it does, it probably lands beside a rock and it goes off. It doesn't hit him. But what it does is it reminds him that he has a grenade. And this happened for whatever reason on this particular rotation. Almost every time we introduced grenades, we got a grenade back. It's almost like reminding them, oh yeah, we carry these too. So he throws a grenade out of the hole and I'm laying on my back and it lands within arm's distance of me. And what saved my life was a muddy, rainy night. It sunk down into the mud. It went off a couple seconds later. It blasted my helmet off, my peltors to shred. It's got some scarring underneath my my beard. And I got scars up and down my leg. But generally speaking, that mud tamped that grenade and absorbed most of that explosion. And so now,
damn, that dude's lucky as shit.
My nods are shot off. I get hit by a grenade just a couple seconds later. and he goes to crawl out of the hole, and our commo guy, eventually fills him in with an absolute full mag. I mean, all 30 rounds into this guy, and it's over, kind of. So now he actually, gosh, almost he gets as he's crawling out, he sends out a couple like kind of security rounds and then tries to crawl out, and he hits our commo guy in the leg. And so our commo guy's shot and then kills him. I'm shot. I have no nods. I have an arm that to get to that point, we jumped a lot of walls trying to make a straight line to this point. Now I can't jump walls. I got oh gosh, can't believe I'm forgetting these words. I got a tourniquet on my arm that without a doubt felt 10 times worse than getting shot. The tourniquet was absolutely excruciating.
Yeah, stop that blood, though.
It took us almost an hour to get back to our element. And during this hour, we made another mistake of it was, again, that village was pretty lively. And so we're trying to sneak our way back, but we can't use the back roads, if we will. Like, we literally kind of have to use trails and roads within the village to quickly get back to our element. Well, when we stopped and checked out all of my my injuries, we used red light because we were still in a tactical situation, which I know better. The problem with using a red light is you can't see blood underneath a red light. And now my biggest injury that I was concerned about was my arm. I didn't complain about the massive bleeding in my leg or in my side because I didn't even feel that had happened. And so we never did a full body check on me to see if I had any other injuries. We just addressed the big injury without addressing the, doing a full body check. Again, something we knew better than, and just, didn't do it right when it counted. So about 45 minutes into this walk back that we had to take the long way around, blacking out. And I don't know, at the time, I didn't know why I was blacking out. And I'm telling like, hey guys, we got to stop. Like, I'm going to throw up and I'm about to pass out. And they're like, Brent, do not pass out. Like, we're not carrying your big ass. Like, we have another guy, with a shot leg. He can't carry you. Like, you've got to suck this up. And I remember telling you, hey, I don't control if I black out, guys. I'm just telling you it's about to happen. And they're like, well, do what you can. We eventually made it back to the rest of the element. And at this point I'm limping, and I don't even know why I'm limping. I just know my leg hurts. And our medic comes up and he goes, as cool as a cucumber, hey Brent, how's it going? Not good, Dan, I'm shot. He goes, why? He goes, I can see that. He goes, anything else wrong with you? I said, no, I'm just shot. Please look at my arm. None of the fentanyl lollipops are working. I took everyone in patrol has a fentanyl lollipop, including me. I took mine. I took his. I'm eating everyone's fentanyl lollipop, trying to get rid of this pain. And it just wouldn't help with the pain at all. And he goes, what's wrong with your leg? I said, nothing. It's my arm. For the love of God, look at my arm. And he laughs and he sticks his thumb in this hole in my leg and says, nothing? And I was like, oh, Dan, why would you do that? He's like, you're such an idiot. And he cuts off my pant leg. He's like, what happened to your leg? And that was the first time I really realized that I had eaten that grenade and didn't really know it. I was passing out from a loss of blood. Right. And by the time I actually got to the helicopter, I did pass out from a lack of blood, and I passed. I woke up in Bagram the next day, after surgery. And I remember that. I remember sitting on the hospital bed going, that was a crazy night. I kind of can't believe we got out of that one.
That is an unbelievable story. How long is the road to recovery for you?
Not long. I never missed a rotation. Yeah, I missed a couple jump trips. The biggest thing was
Never missed a
they
rotation.
kept on doing
Wow.
washout surgeries on me because infection was a serious concern. I had taken my antibiotic pills. Luckily, it was one of the things I did do right. You know, we were always told, you know, you get shot, blown up, you know, something, and you know, and the nastiness of Afghanistan, you take these pills, and that's actually what saved my life. And even with those pills, you know, infection was a big problem within my body. We finally got the infection under control. You know, the doctors were trying to be nice, but they're like, hey, you should know, like, if we can't get this under control, you might lose your arm. And so, you know, every time I went under surgery, you know, I was always the first thing I checked to see if I still had my arm. They never ended up having to take my arm. They put a massive plate in there to keep my arm together. And the bones actually grow back pretty fast.
Danielle.
And I was down for 3 months. I mean, I wasn't back to 100%, but I could operate 3 months later, and like I said, never missed a rotation out of it.
Curious to get your opinion. Which one do you find to be the more complete, dominant unit, and why?
This is it's funny you asked this, and so I just finished coaching football for 3 years, coaching high school football, which I was asked to do. I don't know any I learned, but just because of like my coaching the heart and stuff. So the unit guys, we have heart. I mean, people meet me and they're just unimpressed. I mean, I'm just a 5'7" like dude, but you don't want to go against me like still, you know what I mean? I will go against anybody and win. Like it's just in me. But man, I mean, I know some SEAL Team 6 guys, and they just, I don't know, have better recruiting. They are just bigger and studlier. So it's like, if it's going to be UFC, we're probably going to lose because we got just a lot of skinny, scrawny guys. But you know, little guys I know that killed more people than malaria. You know, so I don't know, man. It's just SEAL Team 6. They're more impressive looking and sounding, and they're good dudes. Like I met them, man. We work together sometimes over there, and I caught up with some of them on the TV show SEAL Team. So a lot of that hostility went away as you meet them and talk to them and stuff.
Right.
I mean, one of them put a laser on me, and I can never forgive that. Like we're getting out of to go on a patrol, and this guy points his laser at me and my team leader, and you know, like he's thinking we're bad guys, and it's like, so yeah, that was a problem.
How did that situation get resolved?
Oh God, man. It's like that's when our commanders really step in, when we do units, joint things together. You know, they're awesome. We're better at hostage rescue. You know, when I was talking about somebody's grabbing this, it's like, pain. That's our bread and butter. So
that's a good answer. They're better looking is what you're saying, but
yeah,
if you got to get a hostage, call Delta Force.
Yep.
I'm so glad that you mentioned Syria, because ISIS obviously did horrific things in Syria and Iraq. And I'm curious if you think the general public has any idea of the savagery of some of the people that we're dealing with in that region of the world. And I want to preface this. When I was in college, ISIS was starting to become like a really big problem. And I remember I was a poli-sci major, which was the most useless degree in the history of the world. But we would have debates about, like, you know, the rise of ISIS, Al-Qaeda, all this terrorism stuff. And there were kids at a major university that were saying there's really no difference between the terrorists and us.
Bro,
and
you can join me if you want to.
We backed them into a corner. I'm like, you realize they're burning people in cages, right? Dude, how different is it compared to the reality on the ground when you're dealing with those animals?
We just watch
animals is exactly what they are. You know, and people asking me about, so getting shot, losing teammates, PTSD, whatever it is, or if it's, taking another person's life.
Hell, for that
And
matter,
I said,
anybody can hit link.
I never felt like I ever took another person's life. I shot a lot of two-legged animals. I shot a lot of people that were not human and did not deserve to be on this earth. So I sleep like a baby at night. And ISIS, without a doubt, was the most, savage enemy we had come across. They had this
See, I
this
think
young-
that's like the
when
biggest
Raqqa
problem
was
with
still their
like
their stronghold.
with people here in America is they don't realize what these guys really are doing and what they're defending.
They had this battalion called the Young Lions Battalion.
It's easy to talk shit
And
on
they
these
were like
guys, right?
7 and
'Cause
8-year-old
people really don't
kids,
fucking know. What's
and they
up,
were
boy?
training them to be soldiers, which isn't that unique, except their final exercise was they would put them through this like CB shoot house, and they would have live people, like enemy, like POW, Kurds, Christians, bound and gagged. And the same way we would go through and shoot paper targets in a shoot house, they're shooting people on their final exercise, training these kids to murder. It's again, that Jordanian pilot that they set on fire alive in a cage. The Coptic Christians in Israel that they marched, I think it was 40 of them to the beach and just murdered them. The beheadings, you name it. They deserved everything they got and more. And to be honest with you, we should have gotten involved in that a lot earlier. That, the only
That's fucking crazy, man. Fuck commercials.
America made was not doing anything until they had taken over half of Syria and half of Iraq. And now we were like, maybe we should do something about this. And as I got older, I'm not the person that says we should be the world's police. I had no problem pulling out of Afghanistan. I have no problem of not being the world's police.
Not a problem, brother.
But the moment they started cutting off American heads, we should have showed up. And we could have, and ISIS would have been a blip on the radar, but they cut off 5 American heads, and we still didn't do anything about it until they had almost taken over Iraq. It really was a blunder on America's part, to be honest with you.
Does it feel better killing someone like that compared to maybe, a regime loyalist or maybe? I hear a lot of guys talk about some of the guys they fought in Afghanistan. They almost, I wouldn't say feel bad for them, but they're like, is this guy purely evil? Maybe, maybe not. But they all say when it came to ISIS, it just felt better. Would you agree with that?
I would. I mean, the way I would rate it, if you will, and everyone will have a different, experience and a different answer. In Iraq, sometimes we were in the middle of, of a civil war, at some point, that at the Afghanistan, I respected the guys in Afghanistan. They always come out to fight, they're at least willing to die for their cause. But man, I really, really, really hated ISIS. I never walked by a dead ISIS body with anything other than just joy.
Were those guys?
I know that sounds weird, but
no, it doesn't sound weird. No, it doesn't sound weird at all.
Yeah.
Were ISIS presented it, and I'm enjoying this a lot. I think our viewers are going to be fascinated by this, especially the younger ones. ISIS they projected, we're so tough, we're so violent. Well, you can't reach the level that we get to. If you captured any of these guys, did they drop the tough guy act pretty quickly, or did they try to maintain that in custody?
You had a good mix of like some of the foreign fighters that would come through, that they were tenacious, and they'd look at you like, man, if you'd take these flex cuffs off me, I'd choke the life out of you right now. I mean, they just stare at you with dead eyes. And But yeah, you get a mixture of everything. And there are plenty of ISIS fighters on the front lines, especially when the March to Raqqa was going on, that they didn't want to be on the front lines, but it was either stay on the front lines and fight, or or retreat and get killed by ISIS. And you could still say, well, you still enjoyed watching them die, because they, like they raised their hand to come fight for evil, and then they found out what evil was, and so you already voted, you came to do this, and now be careful what you wish for.
What are your rules of engagement like in a situation like that, where it's not like World War II where guys are wearing uniforms? You can look over there like, oh, those are Germans, those are Japanese. It's like the civilian population is wearing, correct me if I'm wrong, pretty much the exact same thing as everyone else. So do they have to fire at you first, or if you see a guy with an AK coming 200 yards off, can you engage him? What's the situation like that?
So, and here's something that I think is a misconception that everyone understands, is everyone has the same rules of engagements. Everyone's got the same rules of engagements, and the rules of engagements are anyone that's a threat to you, you can engage. And there's two words I'm probably not going to remember off the top of my head now that I'm on a podcast having to remember them. Immediate threat and imminent threat. Those are the two things that everyone has within their ROE, and I'll tell you exactly what that means. An immediate threat is exactly what you're talking about. A guy with an AK, I come into a room, or I turn the corner on a street, there's a guy with an AK, and it's not just a guy with an AK, he could be a policeman, but he looks at me and he raises his AK, he's an immediate threat to me. I can shoot him all day long. And those engagements are never questioned. They're cut and dry.
These damn commercials.
Your favorite.
Here's where it gets different, really, between the different units. Everyone has imminent threat as well, but not everyone acts on imminent threat in the same way, and I'll explain that. Imminent threat means I'll make up a situation that's never happened. A guy could be on a cell phone across the street, and if I truly believe he's calling in a QRF, I don't have to wait for the QRF to get here to go, oh, I'm going to shoot that guy now because he was calling in a QRF on a cell phone. I mean, he's an imminent threat. Right. If a guy is, and these are all subjective calls that the guy on the ground gets to make and has to live with. If a guy is running around, let's take him to Afghanistan. He's running to the base of the mountain, and if I believe, based on intel, that they have fighting positions at the base of the mountain, I don't have to wait for him to get to the base of the mountain and grab a gun to go, that's what I thought, and now that he's armed, we'll shoot it out. I can shoot him as he's running away, going to that, to that fighting position. But you'll be questioned on it, and you better be able to articulate, and with reasonable justifications of why you took those shots. Because I also assure you, even though they seem like loose rules of engagements, and they kind of are, but if you have a guy on your team taking advantage of those, he'll find his way off the team really quick. But we're not the evil people, right, the rest of the world perceives us to be. We don't put up with that. And really more importantly, to me, it's more of a the unit will ask you this all the time. It's not necessarily the decision you made. They want to know why you made that decision. Why did you make it? So good.
They're holding themselves.
You could have the the same decision, but but the reason you made it could be wrong. And that says way more about it. So if you have a guy that is perceiving things to just not be the ground truth, and he's shooting at people because what is really happening is something way more dangerous in his mind, then he doesn't have a good grasp on the reality of the situation. And that's more or less, the reason why we're going to get rid of him.
Well, so that's actually, so very quickly, I got lucky so I was there after Anaconda. So after Anaconda happened, which basically moved all the, Taliban to essentially Pakistan. So when I got there was right after Anaconda. So we basically, that deployment, we built all the outstations on the Pakistani, or not
Some of them outposts are
near the
fucking
Pakistani
wild,
border.
man.
So all the places that you hear about, Asadabad, Jalalabad, the Korgal Valley, which it really wasn't called that at that time, but all the.
Have y'all ever what's that one movie where they show the outpost where the kid got killed at? But I can't remember.
Areas.
I'll think
That's
of it
when
in just a
we
minute.
that's when we built those fire bases. And so I was lucky. I was at a very, very small, it was really like a small compound it was just one platoon. I was a sniper at that time, and I got attached to a unit team because they didn't have a sniper. So I got to work with them on a couple missions. And after that, I was like, yep, this is what I'm going to do. And so then as soon as I got back from Afghanistan, I put in a pack.
So let me ask you about that. I want to drill down and see, you're attached to a unit team. You're not a member of the unit at this time. You're an Army Ranger. What was your perception of those guys the first time you got to work with them? Because I hear from a lot of people, and I'll paraphrase, when they work with members from the unit, it's like they think they're larger than life. Like, these dudes are superheroes compared to the rest of us. Is that kind of the same impression you had?
The best way I can describe it, or not the best way I can describe it, a thing that does a great job of capturing it is Black Hawk Down. I mean, they really did a good job. I mean, you saw them as gods, and when I was a Ranger, I was just like, it was like when it came to combat, it was like they were
when
Morpheus.
I seen that,
it's like they knew what was going to happen before.
I was like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? That shit was intense. Even just to watch
it was very strange. And also actually the guy that led the team that I was attached to, and I'll just say this now because it's what are the odds? 4 year, whatever, I forget the exact time, but 4 years later, that guy that ran that team, 4 years later, he is the exact same person that put the tourniquet on my arm.
Walk me through how this happens, because it's an explosive device. What do you remember from how it went down?
So there's a lot to give the full explanation of why. I can't give the full explanation of why what happened. Talk about a thing that I can't talk about.
Got it. No, I understand.
Yeah, but it's unfortunate because if I could talk about that part, it would make so much sense. But the very short version is we were in Sadr City that night, and we did an offset. So we were walking through Sadr City at night. And
I got it pulled up cover top. Since we get a break in
the house, we hit the house. We go inside, and
hopefully we don't get hit.
It's just like, or I assume like a law enforcement. You can tell when you go in a house if the people are guilty or not. You can just feel it. Generally, in my experience, if you go in there and they're shouting and the women are going crazy, and it's the wrong house. If you go in and no one says a word, it's the right house. Because the guilty just shut up and don't say anything. The not guilty, you're like, what the hell are you doing here?
Right, yeah.
Guilty, they're just like, yeah, we know why they're here. It's not surprising. They're not happy about it, but they're not surprised. And so anyways, that house, I was like, nah, just not these people. And so anyways, we heard that I think 2 teams, they're like, hey, we actually think it's over here. So 2 teams went out. One was actually a team from the unit that I now play on TV that was attached to us. They went out, they went on the front side, or went around to go to the front side of this other house. And my team was basically going towards the back side of the house. So very shortly, what happened was it was the wrong house. And when we hit that one house, the actual house it was, which was next door, which is not exactly next door because Solder City is kind of weird of how it's built. But, you know, they heard us, they were getting ready, prepping, you know, their gear, you know, and so they were ready to go. So when that team came around, a bunch of dudes opened up out of the front, what I assume would be the living room, with AKs and shot, I think they shot 3, if I'm not mistaken, they shot 3 of the members of that team. 2 of them were pretty much out of the fight at that point. But they were, I mean, it was heavy. I wasn't on that side of the house, but just hearing it, I was like, oh man, that's extreme. So I ran into the back door, which came into the kitchen, cleared through there, went in the hallway, and those same guys, as we approached that room, shot through the walls of that hallway, shot the guy literally right next to me. So then we backed off, and then we were and I'd have to draw it out, but we were in a tactical position that was just there wasn't a lot we could do. So we were trying to kind of figure out how to solve
fire.
And the next thing I know, I remember just the whole room, or actually it wasn't really a room, it was the hallway, you know, so it was more like a tube straight at me, and just everything exploded. And I actually remember hitting the ground and looking up down the hallway. And I was just confused. I didn't know what had happened. And I can say, you know, getting shot at, okay. It's one thing, but the explosion made me feel small. It was like a superhero just grabbed me and was like, or it was like the Hulk grabbed me and was like, it felt like a supernatural power. And it blew, so it was a nighttime hit. It blew my nods and my nod mount off my face. So I went from, you know, under nods to not being able to see anything. It obviously, my arm, I thought it blew off. I'm trying to think of what else.
They don't tell a story very good.
If you're serious about buying a home, refinancing, or just want to know if you can put yourself in a better position financially, listen up. I want you to go check out New Wave Lending. That's NUWAVE Lending. They've got real experience helping.
Fast forward that shit through trying to sell us something. A Vanguard bottle.
I claim Wisconsin as a grow up point, but in reality, I was a military brat. My dad was in the Army for most of my childhood. So I lived at Fort Lewis in Tacoma. That's where I went to kindergarten. I lived at Fort Bragg. When we were down there, I went to elementary school on Honeycutt by the Fort Bragg Federal Credit Union. And, you know, we lived on post housing, so I would walk to school every day and walk home. So we moved around. He got out when I was 9 or 10, I guess. And we stayed in North Carolina for a little while, then relocated back to Wisconsin. He became a union electrician. We relocated back to Wisconsin, where I'm from, you know, moved to a small town there. And that's how it came up. But, you know, I got my love for the military. My father took me into a I think it was a CQ or a staff duty office when I was probably 5 or 6, and he was talking to some guys. And
Man, it's good to
5 or
see
6
these
year olds not
dudes
paying
doing
attention.
podcasts
And I
and
walked
shit like
across
that.
over to a rack.
You
of
know, the more
pamphlets,
they
like
talk
recruiting
about this
pamphlets,
stuff,
and
the easier it
there
is for them.
3 on there that I remember, and I still have them to this day. They were the real heavy duty pamphlets that you could they clipped into each other, so you could unclip them. And they rolled out to like 9 panels. And there was an airborne one. It showed like mass tack jumps and all this stuff. There was a Ranger one, and there was dudes like with their faces painted on a Zodiac paddling. And there was an SF one, and it was some random dude in a green beret peeling a snake. And I was like, that's it. I'm doing that. Like one day I will do that. And I still have those pamphlets. I've saved them my entire life. So early on, I knew that's what I wanted to do.
What'd your dad do in the military?
He was an artillery guy.
What was your relationship with your father like growing up?
It was tense, you know. Now being a father, I completely get it. But you know, when you're young, you're like, oh man, he's so hard on me. You know, it was tense. He was really, I remember making the joke, like my dad didn't like crinkly money, so he would iron his bills, you know. And I was like, that's squared away. Like he was very by the book. And you know, he was hard on me, he was rough on me, you know.
You're a little bit younger than me. Where were you at when 9/11 happened, and what's your memories of that event?
I was in architectural drafting class my sophomore year. It was that morning class, and I was sitting in it probably trying
Anybody
to
remember where they were at during
a
9/11?
computer program or cylinder or something. And you know, they came in, they're like, hey, stop what you're doing. And they put the TV on, you know. Actually, back then it was on like a cart.
Yeah, they would
like
roll it in
yeah.
the cart.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
like strapped to the cart. Yeah. And they moved, and then they turned on the news, and we're like, is this really happening? And you know, the normal thing is like, is this an accident? Oh man, that pilot sucks. And as it went on, you're like, oh no. And I remember deep down being like, okay, like it's solidified now. Like this is what I have to do. I have to do this. You know? And I grew up, mind you, in a they say really small town, but Wisconsin is a strange place because everybody knows everybody, and everybody is related, and everybody, for the most part, I've never been to. Don't get me wrong, I love my Wisconsin folk, but I've never been to a more disconnected place when they understand about the military and stuff. They're very internal with what they know, what they understand, and
they ready for this shit too, ain't they?
I bet you if you look, Wisconsin has probably one of the lowest passport or other country travel rates of any state because it's just all inside. And a dude that is a popular kid in high school, it's because his family owns whatever big restaurant or whatever big shop or whatever big business in town, and they've owned it for the last 100 years. And you know that he's going to graduate, he's the star on the football team, and he's going to take that over. It's just that cycle. And I wanted to get out, and I was like, this is my opportunity to leave, you know, to leave this all behind.
When did you first seriously start considering joining the military?
It had to have been that week. I was like, okay, it's done. Like I didn't find myself, you know, I had dabbled in the college a little bit, and I was like, all right, no, I know exactly what I'm going to do.
Hell yeah, that's what's up.
You guys knew a deployment was coming, and
yeah, we had known. First it was Iraq. We had trained for Iraq. We had gone to Graf or Hohenfels, Germany. One of the bases. We had done one of those like huge wartime scenarios where the role players look like Iraqis, the villagers look like Iraqis. You wear the beeping miles gear, you know, the laser guns, and we had prepped for Iraq. And then I don't know how long the higher powers could tell you, but how long after we got back, they switched it to Afghanistan. And it was a brief. And I remember it was in the theater of it.
I pray it'd be all right, man.
Maybe it was just squad leaders. I don't remember. It was all lined up. And I stood in the back with the command team.
The battalion command team?
Yeah. So we had to go there with him. And I'm in the back, and he's giving briefs on everywhere, the locations and the kind of the loose missions that everybody would have, right? And it was like, you know, you chosen company, you're going to be here. Able company, you're going to be doing this. You're going to be on this highway. You're going to do this. And it got to battle company, and they were doing it by platoon. And I don't know what it was, but the guy said, second platoon battle company, you guys are pretty much going to go and be bait in the Korengal Valley. And I remember the word bait. I was like, bait. Oh man, like that's intense, dude. And didn't know what it meant until you got there. And you're like, oh, I see.
Bro, I was in jail.
Bait.
Yeah, bait. Like
and was scared to death.
Yeah, and I think like 05, 6, 7,
when
man.
the
I mean, I'm
second
still
one
Iraq
hit,
focused.
and
You got
they
Fallujah,
came in the
Ramadi.
pod,
I remember
and they're like, look,
Afghanistan
we're
being super
underneath
on
the
the
terrorist
No, and
attack.
nobody wanted to go.
They just fucking took out the towers. And I was thinking, holy shit, I'm in this fucking cage and can't get out. How can I get out of this motherfucker? They're fixing to fucking kill us all.
go to Afghanistan because Iraq was the huge focus, WMDs, all this stuff. And you felt like you were taking a back seat in the war. You're like, oh man, we're going to the forgotten part. Like nothing's going to happen. But, you know, the guys that have been to the OAF6 were like, no, there's things happening. It's just not publicized. Okay, I'm hoping for something good. So they gave us a little bit, some tidbits. You know, I wrote letters to my family, and I wrote letters to you know, I wrote my death letters and kept them on me and stuff like that. And this is what we're going to do. But we were all really excited, man. We were young. We wanted to prove our mettle, you know, our grit. And we were fired up to do it, man. So
you guys deploy. Where did you go initially with the command team? Where was the command headquartered out?
Camp Blessing. Yeah, Camp Blessing, which is hilarious because they had at the very end of Camp Blessing, these big, huge, like iron rod garage doors, and SF was in there. And it was a 7th group team. And it's a 7th group team that I now know most of them. But I remember seeing them in the chow hall there with like pistols in their belt loops. And I was like, oh my God, those are the coolest guys ever, you know?
Where was Blessing at?
Nangarhar.
You guys flying or driving?
Driving everywhere. And because it was all flat, other than the Korengal Valley. They would not go and see Battle Company. I never got to see Battle Company until, no, you know what? I take that back. We went once to the COP, to the lower part of it, but nothing high up had been built yet. So they were all staying in that lower part. But whether it was Hanukkah Miracle, which used to be close to Fobb, Michigan, I believe, and it was on one of the highways, we would just drive around and see different people, different, you know, companies and platoons and what they were doing. And I was so jealous. I was like, man, I can't wait to get in the fight. Like, this is killing me.
So if you could, man, you know, going back in your mind, like you just said, like a cereal bowl, can you describe like your environment where, you know, even before you guys went up to the top of the mountain, like what that was? I just watched,
no matter where it was at, that shit,
and a little bit of
it did something to you.
It's
it
really
changed.
hard to put it in words, but the best you can.
Yeah,
I can't explain it, but
continue to build stuff up.
it just changed who you was.
That documentary,
You realized just how evil the fucking world was. No matter if it was
right towards the end,
no matter if it was an inside job or not. You know, a lot of people claim that it is an inside job, but the fact that they would kill so many people, innocent people like that, it just changed who you was as a person, the way you viewed things, you know.
We got like a little bit of a chow hall at the base of the valley at the COP, and they had like deep fryers and stuff, but we didn't have that for like 10 or 12 months. You know, they started really increasing the support we got toward the end. You see that, and you see Jones and a couple other people like hanging out in the chow hall being like, hey, you know, we've got like muffins and stuff. And that was when we got to go down to the COP. But the COP was just in this bowl. It had plywood hooches for a while, and then while they started building like the concrete stucco kind of buildings with the wood doors and stuff like that. We stayed in these huts, and it was all, they had little OPs set out everywhere, and you were always watching the wire. There was tons of sea wire. It was straight like a Vietnam camp. It was really rudimentary.
So were you guys at the base of a mountain, or were you guys further up the mountain initially?
We were further up the mountain, but we were like mid-level, because there was some ways that went down, and it cleared out to this big pan where there was Dangam, Marasana, Aliabad, Babial. There was like a few little villages that went down and followed the river with a trail. You could drive up to the COP, and you could drive up to a certain point with those villages passing on either side of you, but then you would reach around the 6-2 grid line, and you would reach the base of Korengal, and you really couldn't go much further. You'd end up tumbling down gullies and stuff. It was a major hub and a route for transportation of lumber. And I might be wrong about this, but to my knowledge, that's why they wanted to focus on it, because apparently a lot of the weapons and ammunition and you know, war materials were being smuggled in these lumber shipments, huge lumber shipments, like big railroad ties. And it's true, because we ended up shooting at them a couple times, and you'd be like, oh man, there's stuff in there. One would blow up randomly, like hugely. Okay, that definitely is not just wood.
When you say they're bringing in lumber, are they bringing in rail cars, donkeys, trucks?
Like big trucks, big, huge trucks. Yeah, just lumber nonstop. On you know how they like stack it up with the pikes on the side, and that's how it would be. You know, and I've got a good number of firefights where we destroyed one or one broke down, and I'm like behind this huge pile of wood. And you know, just getting chipped wood at you. But yeah, it was a real, I couldn't tell you if it was a strategic position, because I don't have a whole lot of memories actually from the base. I know there was a lot of we had built a lot of bunkers, a lot of HESCOs. It was surrounded by HESCOs. But again, the HESCOs, they came in waves. Like sometimes we didn't have them at first, and we filled them. But a lot of bunkers.
Did you guys run any OPs farther up the mountain, like higher, or were you guys all just co-located in that one little fire base? Or
at the COP, there was a few that were a little bit higher here and there, and then I might be wrong. I think Vegas was being put in, and Vegas was on the other side of the valley. You couldn't really drive there either, I don't think, but that was really high up, and they could overlook the Cop, and it was on the complete opposite side of the valley as Restrepo was, and they were putting that in. First platoon was putting that in, and so they had a overwatch position. They got into a lot of good takes too, and I think that was already put in or being put in when we got there. But yeah, I stayed at the base of the valley and really didn't know about Restrepo, and I knew because, like I said, I'd only been there a couple of weeks. We'd done some presence patrols, some blocking positions, couple ambush sites, gotten in some ticks, but nothing big to my knowledge, knowing what was to come. But I remember somebody saying, we get shot at a lot from that hilltop, and they pointed at where Restrepo would be. I was like, oh man. And they're like, yeah, that's the danger zone. And then it might've been 2 or 3 weeks later, we get the Warno. I remember it was the first time I'd ever gotten it like it's written in a Ranger school format. Like, here's your Warno, here's your op order. And I was like, oh, I'll be damned. And a
Warno for you guys out there, it's a warning order. It's kind of like a, hey, this is coming down the pipe. Be ready for this.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, like you guys are going to establish a site up on that mountaintop.
And how high are we talking about? Like 6, 8, 10,000 feet?
I think eight-ish, between 8 and 10, because you couldn't, like, we were in good shape, and like you got up there and you're like, and there were points of it. I remember my first walk, there was, rope tied to different rocks and trees and just down, because you were just like trying to get up this thing.
So walk me through like what a normal 1 or 2 days would be, best of your recollection. I'm just trying to give people kind of like a taste of what a day in the life of a heavily engaged infantry unit was at the height of, the Afghan conflict.
Yeah. I mean, we would wake up and do stand to. You had a night guard shift. I want to say it was 2 hours. You had a night guard shift, and you always had a day guard shift. Even if you were on patrol, you typically got a day guard shift. It was just either before or after. But you get up, you eat your MRE. We ate so many MREs, and then
just
and
watching the explosion copper top, the way that it looked like a demolition, just wow, man.
Digging.
The insurance policy,
patrol or guard,
the whole deal.
I mean, kind of rotated in those 3 manners. You were doing one or the other. When you start getting shot at, and it's from multiple angles, and chaos is ensuing, and then these like really cool guy operators that can, tier 1 guys can probably talk a lot better to it. But I know you get like zeroed in on a muzzle flash, like everything becomes super, super clear. And it's not CQB, which, I've done since then, where it's like right in your face and you're shooting a 3 meter or 4 meter shot. It's like, is that a person? And, what am I shooting at? And you'll see a muzzle flash. So everything becomes super crystal clear, everything. And you're able to like kind of lazy scan the valley and be like, oh man, there's one that he's shooting at us, and he's maneuvering now over there. Mm-hmm. It's really weird, because normally when you look out in the valley, you see nothing. You see trees. You couldn't pick out a dude to save your life. And then once it starts happening and you get ramped up, especially when bullets, you start hearing the click and they start hitting HESCO, so you start seeing dust fly, you're like, okay, something happens, and it must be adrenaline that clicks on, and you are able to really zero in your eyes, like eagle eye, and you're like, okay, there's a muzzle flash, there's movement. It's funny because everything kind of lays across it, and then you just start seeing movement. You're like, oh man, there it is. And then when it comes down, you're exhausted. Even if it was a 15-minute firefight, you're like, oh.
Talk a little bit about, the patrol. You end up getting shot. Like, walk us through that day, if you could.
The sun's coming up, and I remember there was a big, some of the other guys can probably talk more of this. There was a big fight over us exfilling during the day. I don't know who the fight was with, but I remember hearing a lot of people were not happy with the fact that they're like, no, pack it up, like it didn't happen, or they moved the meeting or something. And everybody was real vigilant, because you're like, oh man, we're further now, and we infilled by foot at night. So now they're finding out that we were here all night, and you had to come back down off this mountain, go into Aliabad, and then cross this bridge to the river, this like rock bridge. So we're going, and I'm not thinking anything of it. And I'm like, yeah, cool. And you come down, you're going toward the Cop on the road. Now you're at the base of the valley, but you're way further down the valley, and the road from the Cop leads all the way to that bridge. And they were going to pick some dudes up with some Humvees and take them to the Cop to let them walk up the back way. But they hadn't made it all the way out, I don't think. Again, this day is snippets of what I remember. But I'm coming down, And I was probably a quarter to a half way across the bridge when we started getting shot at. And they're like, oh, go, go, go. So we came across the bridge and then button hooked right. And there was like a little stacked rock wall of shale that it bordered a cemetery with like little trees in it. And we get down and we immediately start returning fire. We're catching it from like 4 different angles. Like it's coming from all over, Nipple Rock, maybe to the left, but I can tell it's coming from everywhere. And I'm like, I hope we get more firepower. And I heard the trucks were coming with the 50s and stuff. And then all of a sudden, I remember thinking the weirdest thing is I looked into the cemetery and, they have these like jagged pieces of shale stuck in where people were buried and they're just like carved on. And I could see them just crumbling. They were just getting hit like crazy. So all these headstones were like falling. I was like, oh man. And I looked up and then an RPG hit and then a line of machine gun fire, what I assume was PKM fire, hit along the wall. And I don't know which one it was, but one of them peppered my face really bad. And it knocked me backwards. And my face was like smoky and black. And I was like, oh man, I'm bleeding. I kind of wiped the blood from my face a little bit. And I like sat back up. And it might've been a split second that I went to raise my gun and just looked at that house. And this is what I was talking about with the adrenaline. With the weirdest thing, I could see a figure of a man and a muzzle flash. And it was the last thing I saw. He was aiming right for my nugget. And it hit me. And I felt my head jerk back and went completely green spots for about a few seconds. And then it went black. And then I heard one of the two, which had a radio, call me up as KIA. And
you could like physically,
I could physically hear him, hit, Steiner's hit. And then I heard like, I don't know if it was like KS, KA or something like that. And I remember thinking to myself,
that's fucking crazy.
No, I'm not dead. But fingers can't move, can't hear anything. And then it's straight up like Black Hawk Down. Like my eyes opened up with like stuff on it. And I was like, oh man, what's going on here? And then, Tanner's face got in my face and then Misha's like, oh God. And they kind of lifted me up by my armpits. Or I sat up and like, you guys okay? Are you okay? And I was like, I don't know. Am I? And I remember slowly like being like, and then I touched my head and it was just like this huge blast. Like, my Kevlar was all frayed and open. I was like, oh man, what happened? And like, brother, you just took it to the melon. And I was like, oh, okay. And they lifted me up and my knees were like super weak. And I was like, I remember there was this real slow down minute where I like looked around and they were talking to me. It was like going in and out. And I'm looking at these trees in the cemetery and I can see the branches and the leaves like coming off of them. So they were still shooting at us. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And somebody turned me around aggressively and they're like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, can you run? And I was like, yeah. And like, then run. And they gave me like a horse ass slap. And I was like, ah. And I went and I just went in the direction of the road and they were like pointed and I ran and ran and ran.
Who were you running to?
So somebody had said something about a Humvee. So I knew the cop was down that road and I was just running down this road for dear life, I think. And I got there and then there's a really famous picture of Mac, I think was the one that escorting me, or he'd come a little bit after that. And he was like, dude, and my face is all black and I've got this helmet and I take my helmet off and I'm looking at it and it had punctured the inside of the helmet. So that was kind of open and I guess kind of like circled around a little bit on the inside and come out somewhere, non-kinetic. And I was like, all right. And Mac looked at me and he like took my shoulders and he was like, welcome to the first day of the rest of your life, brother. And you know what the funny thing is that Mac always was a very, very high authority figure in my world. Like I put him on a pedestal. And I always felt like after that, there was like a connection that I had with him that was way deeper because he knew that I knew, like, man, like he almost lost a dude. I almost lost my life. And he was like, welcome back. And I remain really close with him because of that particular moment, that welcoming. And that quote stuck with me my whole life.
I remember you were telling me when you got to the aid station, you asked for a cigarette, but you couldn't really smoke it because it was kind of soaked in. When did you realize how much you were bleeding?
Until then, because I couldn't really feel it. My face was like all numb and it was in the face. And I asked, I want to say his name was Jones. He was the medic down there. And I said, hey man, can I smoke? And he was like, yeah. And he was like, just wait here. He like did my vitals. He's like, all right, just wait here. And they were prepping something in the aid station. So I like took my helmet off and like dropped it. And I like slid my back down the wall of the outside of the brick aid station or whatever. And I'm just sitting there And I lit this cigarette up and I like leaned my head back and I got, 2 drags off it. And then I was like really trying to hit it and I couldn't figure out why. I'm struggling. I was like, oh man. And I had looked and had run down my face and soaked the whole thing red. So I looked at it and I'm just trying to drag off this like wet, bloody cigarette. I was like, damn it.
What did the medics tell you about your wound?
Nothing. They like patched up my face a little bit, cleaned me off. I got the iodine and they're like, did a couple tests, like eye tests and stuff. Like, you all right? And I was like, yeah, you seem to be pretty good. Not to discredit what they were doing. There's not a whole lot you can do, know? And I was like, I think I'm good. And you know what, man? This is the truth of it. I wanted to go back with the homies, like so bad. I was like, hey, can I go back up today? And they're like, no. And I was like, you sure? Because I'd really like to just go back up there. And they're like, no. And I remember kind of making a about it. I was like, well, when can I go back up? And they're like, just give it a minute, man. And I was like, all right. And they were like, just go sleep in one of the barracks rooms with the beds that, we had this plywood barracks at the COP. And I remember walking in there and it was empty. Had a little bit of gear in there, but it was just like, the Afghan, like foam mattresses. And I like laid down in it and like laid back and my neck hurt so bad. And I had a raging headache. I remember my eyes hurting. You ever like stare at a computer for too long and your eyes are like crusty hurting? I remember being like, at some point somebody came and got me. I ended up spending a day there. Somebody came and got me and made me take this random test where they set up a computer at the COP. I remember sitting there and they're like, hey, this is going to flash. It's a white screen with black letters and it's going to flash letters. Hit the space bar for everything but X, except for X. And it like A, F, J. And it does that. You're like, and then an X will come up. And inevitably you were like, and you did it. And I remember thinking I remember deducing like, maybe it's a left brain, right brain thing. So I had my right hand out and I was holding it with my left hand. I was like, maybe if I can like put my brain halves together, I could get this right. And I was messing it up so bad. I was like hitting X's, not hitting X's, hitting A. And I was like, and I was like, hey man, I don't know how I did because it doesn't tell you how you did. And he's like, all right, thanks, we have it. I've asked people about that. I was like, you never had a baseline for that. You don't know what my score would have been without the headshot. I don't know what it was for. And I don't know where it went. Now they have all kinds of cognitive tests. I've been cognitive tested so many times because people are pretty into the headshot survivor guy. Been to TBI clinics and they put the like little Ghostbuster electrodes on my head to see like the waves and what connects and what doesn't. And it's always all jacked up. They're like, man.
So did that 7.62, did it pierce the helmet?
Yeah. Yeah. It pierced the helmet. And so the inside of the helmet, I don't know how far it went, or if it rolled off or how it went, because the inside of the helmet has it, Kevlar is like layered fabric. Yep. So the blast is huge. There's a tiny hole. You can lift it up and see through the hole. And then the fabric on the inside is not ripped, but it's like layered open and bubbled. And then it bubbles in a line a little bit. And then there's a tiny nick on the back side here. So my best deduction based on that is that it kind of went in and either circled underneath the Kevlar or just there and like came out right here toward the back of me. Yeah. I came to fruition in wanting to do more because of dumb luck. I survived. I saw through the window and I was on borrowed time and I was like, well, I'm going to make the most of it. So the adversity of me being in the wrong place at the wrong time, but having the right hand on my shoulder and surviving, it meant the world to me. I knew I wasn't going to waste it.
If you had to pick one moment that defined you and who you became, what would it be?
The realization, people will expect me to say the headshot, and that's true. And whether or not, I think it's a combination of you becoming a leader in the Army and in combat, and then you becoming a father, and you realize that somebody is 100% dependent on the person you are and what you do. It's life-changing, dude. Being a father is the most amazing thing in the world. So once you realize that their entire livelihood is resting on your shoulders, you carry yourself differently. Everything you do.
What's one lesson from Restrepo you'd like to leave with the audience?
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot. And I think when I think about my homies, it's that real brotherhood isn't built in comfort. It's built in shared accountability. Shared accountability for what has to be done. And that's what I owe to those guys.
If you could talk to the boys from Restrepo right now, what would you tell them?
Man, I would thank them. I would thank the boys, all of them, for what they've done for me. I don't think they'll ever understand how far they pushed me to be. I was by no means the greatest dude in the platoon. And I'll probably say the same thing. but they pushed me to be better every day. At one point or another, I wanted to be like every single one of them in some form or fashion.
That's what's up. That's what's up. All right, y'all. I'm gonna chill for a little while. I'm gonna keep an eye on this the damn live stream over there. If they start getting it in, I will jump back on. We'll holler at y'all though. Thank you for joining me. Peace.